Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tate for a spoiler discussion. We haven't had one of these for a while, actually. That's why I've just kind of said in that hesitant tone. A spoiler discussion on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, now released in cinemas almost worldwide today.
Pretty much worldwide now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of countries I think have said they're not going to show, which is ridiculous. But yeah, how are we feeling tonight? How was your experience in the multiverse?
Yeah, good. I'm genuinely trying to think of. I was going to say, what was the last Marvel film I saw in cinemas, and then it was like, oh yeah, it would have been Spider-Man, right?
Spider-Man.
Like, yeah. So it's quite fun going from a Spider-Man film to a Sam Raimi film because that's basically the natural progression that you should go with. So yeah, no. Looking forward to getting into this. Looking forward into talking some spoilers from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and we've kind of set out a plan. And obviously, as I said, this is a spoiler discussion. So if you have seen the film yesterday, obviously we got a day before America. If you're in America, you're probably watching it now or something. One of the cinemas in New York's gone viral because they're showing it 70 times a day. That's 70. I don't know how a cinema has the capacity to have that many screenings in a day. I don't know they've got like 20, 30 screens.
I was going to say, if you think about it, even if they've got like 10 screens, they only have to do like 7 screenings a day. Which
that's like 21 hours. But then Americans do it in the night, don't they?
Yeah.
It's a weird one. But I mean, mine had it like 25 times a day. That's been a conversation, and that might get brought up in a bit. But as always, we want to hear from everybody at home. So do comment along with us tonight. As we said, there's nothing off limits. This is a spoiler discussion on Doctor Strange. All opinions are welcome. We'll bring up the comments in the chat as well. And we're just going to get out of the system because there's a lot to speak about with this film. As I said, we have a schedule. So please do hit the subscribe. We always have to say Marvel isn't going away anytime soon. I feel like every time we have to say that, it gets slightly more hesitant because we kind of forget that we've got another video coming literally this weekend, which is on Moon Knight, which we'll talk about at the end. Marvel's really not going away, and it's become a joke at this point in time that we always have to say that. But yes, please do that. And Tate, where can the people find us on social media to follow?
Yes, so please find us all over our social medias, all of them, every single one of them. So go onto Twitter at cinema_savvy, go onto Facebook, you just type in Cinema Savvy, go onto Letterboxd, that is letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy, and also go down into the description, find a TeePublic link, pick up a comfy hoodie. Standard instructions for these videos now for you guys. And also, I do want to point out as well, once again, this is a spoiler video. We do have a spoiler-free video, which George did a few days ago. So if you want to go and check that out, he goes kind of a little bit lighter on it.
It's very late. It's very late at night. I'm very tired in that video.
Just the general outset of the film and stuff like that. You're not going to find any spoilers in there at all. We're going to be diving straight in. We're going straight for the jugular. We are going for the neck snap, even. If we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
And no Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise straight away.
The denial of me. Even when the credits were rolling, I was like, he's going to be in the credit scene, and he wasn't. And listen, I'm fine with that. I think that's going to be a big discussion tonight. We're going to have this, I guess we could say, like, slowly segue into like thoughts going in and all that kind of stuff. This has been an interesting one because obviously, we're massive fans of the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Growing up with that, the channel's always like hyped it, and it was the anniversary this week, which is really fitting as well. 20 years for Spider-Man 1, 15 years for Spider-Man 3 this week. Remarkable. And we get a new Sam Raimi film, his first since Oz the Great and Powerful. If you have seen the Oz Great and Powerful, please comment if you have. I remember it's one of the few films I've actually turned off. It was so weird. James Franco's on so many drugs. But it is going to be these. Oh, we've got a couple of people in the comments. We've got Martin, Evening Martin, and Bavaria. I know even a lot of Marvel stuff. My favorite thing of the movie, No Tom. So, heading into this, Tate, what was your screen like? You went yesterday.
Yes.
So we'll each go over like our experience seeing it. Because I think Marvel's become the experience now, the roller coaster ride, as Scorsese would put it.
I mean, like, I've done late night screenings for Marvel previously and stuff like that. There are some where I've watched it kind of during the day. I'm talking kind of your Eternals and stuff like that. And genuinely, that felt like it went on forever. The last one I did was Spider-Man. That was a midnight screening, I believe. And that one was, the atmosphere for that was amazing. But my local cinema didn't do a midnight screening for Doctor Strange, which that's fine, whatever. It's not one of the big Marvel ones, even though I think in the context of things it will be considered a bigger Marvel thing and stuff like that. And I'm surprised because it's Benedict Cumberbatch. You could plaster his face anywhere in Britain, you'll make money. But the atmosphere in my cinema, I don't want to say it was subdued. It wasn't a packed out cinema. I want to point that out. It was definitely not packed out. I had 2 other people in my row. It's quite a big cinema as well. They did have 3 or 4 screenings going on at the same time. And I'll be honest, the thing that stood out to me the most was the amount of kids who had gone out of school to watch it. And it was really, really obvious. And some parents with quite guilty looking faces because they'd obviously taken their kids out of school. But I'll be honest, I counted at least 20 and it wasn't a school trip. It was either kids going on their own merit or it was like, you know, and I know school's still in here in the UK. So that's really, that's quite telling on that part. But no, it was quite a subdued atmosphere. Not too many people there. Whilst watching the film, there wasn't too many reactions. I think there was a gasp from one person who clearly hadn't seen a trailer when Professor X shows up, and it's like, wow, how did you not watch any of the trailers? That was the gasp. I was like, oh, it's not going to be it's not going to be when the Illuminati is revealed. No, you're going to gasp when the
last one turns up.
Revealed. Yeah, I was going to say when Patrick Stewart turns up, the one who was actually revealed to be in the film, and you're like, that's the gasp. You're really gasping at that. Yeah,
it's I mean, I'm lucky. So obviously, I was invited to cover the Birmingham fan screening as press on Tuesday, which is why we had the review go up early. And you know, I'm just gonna say it was. I normally go to Birmingham to see the films anyway, because like the NEC is like 20-ish minutes from where I live if I do it at good speed on the motorway. And I love the IMAX there, but there's one in like central Birmingham, which I think I've been to once for an Age of Ultron like 9 years ago, and I won a competition to go. And I was a bit buzzing because, you know, it was the 20-year anniversary to the day of Sam Raimi, and for a fan screening, you had like 8 cosplayers via Marvel, which is kind of cool. Some really cool costumes, obviously mainly Doctor Strange and Wanda and stuff like that. But there were a lot of like not dodgy people there, but it didn't really feel like a fan screen. I don't need people screaming and screeching at all. But like, there's like a bloke in front of me with his 2 lads. He was probably in his late 50s. 2 lads were in their like late teens, early 20s. They were just there for the sake of being there. But then he said he had 8 tickets. So how have you bagged 8 tickets to a fan screen? Like, how does that sort of stuff work? And I was like, you know, either you're in with Marvel or you've got some, you're in with Cineworld. I don't really know. But there was sort of no atmosphere, which was really great because, you know, obviously I think in the UK, without sort of dissing on how people react to films, we're very reserved as a cinema crowd. And I feel like every once in a while, you know, we get a Star Wars or you get an Infinity War where you do get an emotive crowd, and I can take it. I can take it in small doses.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange, it was very normal, and I was really excited because I was worried. I don't want people screaming. I actually went to the back row for that screening, and obviously I had my normal tickets booked for the Thursday night. You know, the opening night with my friends, as we always go. We've always been. You've seen them on the channel before. They were Peacemaker and the same at the IMAX, again, the one nearer me. And that was a crowd that was in. Like, you could tell there were people buzzing and murmuring and all that kind of stuff. I had a twat on my left who clearly her boyfriend took her because they were just having an audible conversation for the entire film, and she didn't have a clue what was going on or who was who or why was why. And shouldn't have just turned up. Should have just stayed at home. Wasn't worth your time. But, you know, there were a couple of moments, like you, Professor X, there was one dude behind me who was like, yeah, like really excited that Professor X turned up. And I just sat there smug. Like, I've already seen this film. You are going to absolutely hate yourself in 5 minutes' time. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But the crowd itself, it was fine.
I was going to say, moving on from that crowd thing and stuff like that, like, one of the weirdest moments when we were watching the Oscar live stream, if you guys were watching along with us, was here is the Oscars top 5 crowd cheer moments. And
via Twitter.
Oh my God. And like, from a British perspective who watches films and we don't react to crowds, that was easily, and I mean Americans were commenting along as well, the cringiest moment of the night. And that's beyond the whole Will Smith slap thing, like being cringy as well. Like there was it's just
what made that funny is the film never came out at cinemas. It was never seen with a crowd. It was on HBO Max. We won't bring the cults in, but obviously we were talking about the Flash enters the Flash world or Flash scene or something. the speed verse. I don't know. There's so many verses these days. I've really given
Yes.
up. But yeah, like the cinema was rammed, and I said mine was showing it 25 times a day, insane amount. The foyer was. I feel so bad for that stuff sometimes, and Marvel is a big thing, and there was no midnights, which means you get more people piling in on the opening night because they couldn't have gone at the midnight. Odd they weren't doing that still over here. Top Gun's getting a midnight screening, but Disney wouldn't let Marvel have one. I don't know if it's a spoiler thing because we're ahead of them. I don't understand the logic. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's talk about this film. So the way we've kind of split up people, we've spoken about this, we're going to give our thoughts going in briefly, but we're going to we've kind of split the film up into acts, and we'll talk about like, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 and moments within them. But actually heading into this film, I wasn't that hyped. Which is really weird because I was so excited Sam Raimi was back, and this has been the biggest selling point. I really liked the first Doctor Strange film. I think that was a severely underrated film. I don't think it's that underrated. I think people don't speak about it. It came out sandwiched between, I think, Guardians, Thor, and Civil War. Like, for an origin film, I'm pretty sure the only origin film of Phase 3. And I thought it was a really cool world. Scott Derrickson built it all. Obviously, wasted Mads Mikkelsen, but I liked a lot of other things. And then, we haven't had a sequel. And I think this has been his biggest problem. He's popped up in everything except his own sequel until now. And I'll just jump in and say that this is Wanda's film, not Doctor Strange's film. That's really obvious for everyone, I think. But for this, I don't know. I was kind of... I've not got... Maybe I have MT fatigue. It's like Moon Knight. We'll speak about that in a review this weekend.
Yeah.
But there's so much Marvel stuff where I don't feel hyped anymore. I feel like it's a collective. I'm seeing it anyway, so I'm in. And I don't... Spider-Man was hype, but the hype wasn't seeing Tom Holland, I'm sorry, or like the current MCU. It was seeing, we've not seen Tobey Maguire in 15 years. We've not seen Andrew Garfield in 10 years. It wasn't hype to the point of, I'm in for the MCU. I'm in that for other people I've not seen. And it's a weird one because I'm going to go and I've got no issue going. I enjoyed following the universe, but it's like a TV show. But this is like an episodic thing every 4 months that you just have to watch, and it's a part of watching.
Yeah. I'm not fatigued by I'm a little bit fatigued by Marvel TV. Like, I was thinking the other day of trying to rank them. We'll talk about it when we go into our Moon Knight review. And I completely forgot that, first of all, Falcon and Winter Soldier existed, and also that Hawkeye happened this last year or whenever.
Hawkeye was good though. That was the thing.
Hawkeye was good, but it's already slipped my mind. Like, it's already,
and it's a Christmas thing as well. And it was because it's Christmas. It's even locked down to that.
Correct. But with the Marvel films and just kind of the general count, especially because we did our Marvel retrospective and stuff like that, I'm kind of okay with the continuation of it and stuff like that. I know it's not going away, and I know that they're expanding the universe, especially in this film, to the point where you could go in any direction. Anything is canon now that's been in Marvel's past and stuff like that, just because they've been able to acquire 20th Century Fox and all of the properties that come with that. But like with this film, I actually did have hype going into it, especially because from the early kind of signs, as soon as they said, oh, it's going to be directed by Sam Raimi, great. That's an immediate first thing, like, wow, okay, this can be a fun film. And then secondly, they mentioned that it was going to be a horror film. And then you've got Multiverse of Madness, which is kind of Mountains of Madness. So playing off of that kind of aspect of it. It just intrigued me with every single kind of thing that was released about the film. As soon as they said that like Elizabeth Olsen was going to be in the film, then suddenly it became, okay, so you're going to have Scarlet Witch in there as well. And then as soon as that was announced, more people kept on kind of being announced, people being rumored and stuff like that. So for me, the hype actually built up, especially with Doctor Strange as a character. He has that ability across his kind of comic book run to go in any direction. And that's how Marvel have decided to expand their universe. They've used him in No Way Home. They've used, I guess, Scarlet Witch and Wanda in WandaVision to help expand that. And now they're kind of combining those two elements together, and it's kind of exploding off from there.
Yeah, it's a really good point. That we'll probably speak about WandaVision the most tonight of all of these for certain moments, especially. But I think you are bang on with what's happening with the shows, and we've got Miss Marvel starting literally in a month. We're going to have She-Hulk at some point this year. I'm pretty sure there's another Secret Invasion. I think it's going to be next year. I think it's going to be the end of Phase 4. Yeah. But it's not slowing down. And at CinemaCon last week, Kevin Feige said they're heading into a retreat to plan the next 10 years. That scares me that they're heading into... It's not the fact they're planning 10 years. They're heading into a retreat to plan 10 years worth of content. Like, that's like something you hear in like war stories, not planning films. But then again, these are the only guys that plan successful cinematic universes. I say plural, there's only one, and they're bringing in all the ones that are failing into this. But yeah, it is interesting in this approach, and kind of what you said of the Raimi and the horror stuff. Like, when Marvel said, "Oh, this is going to be the first horror film," I'm just sat there saying, "Well, not this is 12. I don't care that it's 12. You know,
yeah,
I don't want 15,
I'd say
but...
they really push those boundaries of what.
Yeah, they do.
12A.
But like heading into this film, the problem I have is that how often does Marvel come in and say, "This is going to be our first insert genre here Marvel film"? Like, Eternals was like the mythological one, and it's like,
and then it was like Ant-Man and the Wasp was meant to be the first rom-com, and it really didn't end up being a rom-com. But I feel like this film delivered on the horror.
Well, this is it, and this is what I was getting buzzed with in the cinema. Like, when certain scenes were happening, I was like, "What? Oh, like not even like way past the next." I was like, "Oh, the neck snap." Oh, the mouth. We'll talk about that bloody From like even I think like Wanda in that charred when she like you get the charred bodies at the temple, and you're like, oh god, I'm like, it's like Aunt Beru and Chloe, and even Star Wars won't do that. And oh yeah, like, and that was it. Like, I guess the approach I have is I wanted a Sam Raimi film. Well, I hate saying I want.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we would get a Sam Raimi film or a Marvel film that Sam Raimi is doing. And I think I messaged you after when you saw it because I didn't want to say anything before.
Yeah.
I think if I'm really going to look at this MCU, look into every film, the only one that feels, in the last few years, that feels like we've had the director's film at the forefront is Taika Waititi for Ragnarok. And I guess you could like hammer on that and say, well, you know, with Kenneth Branagh on Thor.
I was going to say Kenneth Branagh on Thor was the only other
very
one that
Shakespearean,
I could think of,
and that's 11 years ago now, which is mad.
Yeah, Jesus.
But you know, we haven't had that in so long. Like, I didn't feel like Eternals was a Chloe Zhao film at all. And you know, you've had all these directors come and go, or some fall out, or some leave projects, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Actually, James Gunn, what you've done with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, sorry, yes, James Gunn.
I was going to say, I was thinking, actually his stamp, but you do get a lot of people, and this is interesting because I've seen a lot of people with mixed comments on this film. People saying, "Oh, like they weren't a fan of the director's stamp they put on the film and stuff like that." I've seen that online. People who are saying, "Oh, I'm not really the biggest fan of Sam Raimi's kind of touch on it and stuff like that." But also at the same time, those same fans have been complaining that every single Marvel film's been exactly the same. They're just trying to find something to complain about it, and this is the first time that this has got not only a director's stamp on it. This is a Sam Raimi film. Like it is, and Carl's put it there in the comments. It is 100% a Sam Raimi film. Like you could take this completely out of context from all of the other Marvel, just say who directed this film, and people have a guess and stuff like that. And I'd say, like, yeah, immediately you go Sam Raimi. Like this is exactly the kind of directing style and stuff like that. But
Bavari's put the same about Taika. Sorry, I just want to jump that in as well. 100%.
It's incredibly interesting because we're also discussing this beforehand, and it's very interesting because we got a few commenters as well. So I want to see people's opinions in the comments. Because you were saying that Sam Raimi had only seen 2 or 3 Marvel films or Marvel properties before watching this film. And I'd made mention this is like the first Marvel film where I feel like you would have to watch the TV show to get any context of what's going on. Because obviously you'd need to watch WandaVision to get any context from kind of Scarlet Witch's story and kind of how the situation with Wanda, and she is pretty much, aside from the title, the main character of this film. Like
I found the article. Sorry to jump in.
Go on.
So this 4 is wild. He has seen 4 Marvel films out of the 28. Iron Man 1, the first Avengers film, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. And then he just put, I saw little clips of other movies.
Wow.
But
I'm surprised he didn't see No Way Home, although we don't know when was
he has seen it though now, because
April,
but he has spoke about No Way Home recently that he did watch it. They were asking about Spider-Man the anniversary, and he said he really enjoyed John Watts. He called it the best Spider-Man film ever. His lyric gun to his head. But no, and it's interesting because the one thing of Sam Raimi, like sort of sticking on the segue with him, when he was announced this film, I remember I've been trying to find it for ages and it's gone. So I hope I didn't make it in my head years ago. He spoke saying that when he grew up reading comics, there was only the two characters he was interested in with Marvel, and it was always Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. And this is years ago I read this. And obviously you go to Spider-Man 2 and you think, hold on, there's a Doctor Strange reference back then before the MCU references at that point in time were references. They were Easter eggs because they were Easter eggs. And even when the trailers were coming out for this, it's the little things like the tweaks to the costume, to the color palette, to actually having sets, not studios for everything. He's somebody that clearly has come and done this film because he has a love for that character. And I think it's so not ballsy of him to say he's only seen 4 films, but to actually be honest and not lie and say he's a massive fan of the franchise, he's seen them all. For him to come up and say, this is going to be, his take on Doctor Strange, it makes it very curious for me as a viewer saying, okay, is he going to sit here and mix 100 films together? Because I guess we can say with this film, at least now doing spoilers, we know from the get-go that this film isn't normal. This isn't a typical Marvel film. This film is a Sam Raimi film. It's not setting up 10 films down the line. It's not setting up the X-Men being in this or X, Y, and Z universes coming together. This film is literally a Sam Raimi film. There's not 1,000 cameos. There's 6 cameos, and everyone dies in those cameos, which is absolutely fantastic, which we'll get to later. But how do you feel with that this was just genuinely, for a film that's about being multiverses, this is the most self-contained Marvel film, I think, of the last few years, which is mental in its own right.
Yeah, it feels like its own story. It doesn't cross into other stories. It will do in the future, obviously. Like it has that ability to expand out, especially with the characters that it introduces, especially in the Illuminati scene. Knowing what films are going to be coming out in the future, I'm talking Fantastic Four. Whether they bring back, I don't think they'll bring back the Inhumans, but you've always got that shout, and the X-Men are going to be coming in as well. So you've got like loads of different things that can be kind of pressed on from there, but it does feel very contained in itself. I think that may have been because of Sam Raimi's stamp, because maybe he hadn't seen all of the Marvel films. Maybe he was upfront and honest about it. Maybe he just turned around to them and said, I haven't seen many of your films. I'm not going to watch them. Like, give me a list of the films that I need to watch. And they've just gone, first one to get the vibe, the main big meetup for the first time to kind of get context of heroes working together. And then Black Panther for the culture, and then finally just, get Doctor Strange out of the way because that's the film you're going to be doing. And if you watch those kind of 4 films, you do get a general context of what's going on and stuff like that. I still feel like you'd need to see WandaVision to be able to get the context and stuff like that of the film, especially if we kind of go in and start talking about even Act 1, where we kind of see. I mean, we'll get onto that bit when we come around to talking about.
Just one more comment. We've got Carl. Some of the set designs look like an actual set. That's Raimi. It gave me Spider-Man vibes. And to me, it was the scene in the bedroom when he wakes up. Not because there's a bedroom, but we got to see him like walking through like hallways, or you get another Sam Raimi wedding scene in a Marvel film. And it's like they're actually on location. I mean, the farm stuff was somewhere in Surrey, I think, or somewhere in England, but what's been really frustrating for me is like with No Way Home, like, yes, I enjoyed it, and there's some horrible CGI. When they're like, you see behind the scenes, they're CGIing. They have a door, and they CGI the wall behind the door. And you just sort of sat there like, I get you got to be secretive, but you could try and build something. You got fantastic, I know that Lucasfilm is very different to Marvel in absolute truth, but you could still build a lot of that stuff and then design things around it. And I'm just glad Sam Raimi came back with the approach of a filmmaker, and some of those sets I thought looked fantastic, and you could tell what was real and what wasn't. We've also got Bavari. I think it helped us to start filming 2 weeks after she finished WandaVision. Absolutely. Tayte, you mentioned Act 1. Let's really get into it. So, do you want to talk about Spanish Doctor Strange or how it kicked? We're not going to do it like scene by scene, but as an opening act, I guess we say we got introduced to America Chavez, who I really enjoyed, actually. I don't know anything about the character until this film. I know that one thing we'll not speak about tonight, I'm sure everyone's probably aware, this film was originally meant to come out before No Way Home, and this film would set up No Way Home. And in the concept art for No Way Home, America Chavez was in the universe. And the stories that have come out since was that the only reason Ned had the Doctor Strange rings is because they needed a magician, and they had to rewrite it because America hadn't been introduced, blah, blah, blah. Very complex stuff. Which I'd say they handle well.
Well, they've always got to have a plan B. It's Marvel. Of course, they have a plan B, C, D, just every kind of plan available to them. But we do get introduced to this character pretty much off the bat. This is so funny because I thought that these scenes were going to be at the end of the film, but actually it was the opening scene when watching the trailers and stuff like that. But you get introduced to a Doctor Strange who can speak Spanish. You also get introduced to America Chavez. You're kind of thrown in, no context, into an action scene, which immediately engaged you, which I quite liked. But then you're also thrown into straight away Doctor Strange trying to steal her soul or trying to steal her powers so that he can use it because she can't use it and stuff like that. Which I guess is I guess that's in reference to the Doctor Strange we saw in What If. But like, I think the opening scene was fun. It didn't reveal the entire plot to the film, didn't reveal too much. It was just a fun action sequence that ends up being all a dream.
Yeah. I mean, it was the trailer shot. And I think this was interesting, like getting America in it, like you, I thought this is the end. Or a halfway point, we're going to get some like No Way Home merging of all the Doctor Stranges or something the same. But the fact we got running parallels and what was really obvious with this, they're reciting lines from the previous Doctor Strange films or quotes, and you've got the No Way Home one is like is the one like I don't think I can hold it, which is when he's doing the spell. And he talks about the multiverse quote. I know there's probably a gazillion of them, but it's really interesting how this film ties in a lot of previous stuff. And yes, it's different multiverse, but it is intentionally the same comment, the same character doing the same comments out loud and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I kind of thought with this one, is that there's some really smart stuff of how they handle that multiverse. And I think it's really great to bring it and to introduce America. Like, we know she's got a power. We know that she is kind of the MacGuffin, which is cool. It's the character, because in theory, the MacGuffin then gets character development. I think this film has an underrated amount of that. But yeah, it's a cool way to kickstart it. And then you get your first segue action scene. You said it. It's Mike Wazowski jumping in there from the get-go. I mean, even before that, we've got the wedding as well. We've got a comment from Carl as well. He was at the balcony and kept thinking the Green Goblin was going to turn up. How do you think of the wedding scene? Like, I know it's a bit insane, but we had that returning character from Doctor Strange 1 who got a with credit, which was actually really funny, the other Doctor. And you get the whole bleakness about like his cat are dead than his family is. And I just like the fact that, again, like we were clearly like in a set with actors in it, and someone was making a film rather than it was a CGI green wall.
Yeah. The wedding scene, the first thing I immediately noticed was that whip pan after that conversation they have. And that was immediately like, okay, that's something that we just don't see in Marvel. We don't see that kind of style of filmmaking, stuff like that. But I thought the wedding scene, it was fun. I know that person who was acting, what's his name, who played Dr. Nick West, Michael Stuhlbarg, he's done a lot of TV work in the US and stuff like that. But I did like the kind of deadpan kind of like, you can save the universe, but you still can't get the girl kind of like depression that was coming out of him. I think that was quite fun. And then we do get the action scene and stuff like that. Once again, it's a fun action scene. It's a lot of the stuff that we saw from the trailer and everything like that. We do get to see kind of like a little bit of what America Chavez can do and stuff like that. Like, we'd already seen a little bit from the previous scene as well, but it's kind of Doctor Strange and Wong kind of just figuring out a solution, taking down, what would you even consider it, just like a mini boss, like an alien or something like that.
Yeah, like in the comics, one of my friends, I think it's Gargantos. I don't know if I've butchered the pronunciation, but it's someone that's been in a couple of, it's got a bit of a history of the comics, and it kind of reminds me of a lot of stuff that like James Gunn sort of does. Is like, yes, this means something to somebody a lot somewhere, but for the context of this film, it's a really cool 5-minute action set piece. And also, if you're going to bring in this multiverse stuff, we'll talk about the horror stuff, but that looks like a Sam Raimi type character in creation. That, yes, obviously, it's a monstrous and alien, but you get this small action set piece. And Carl mentioned Spider-Man, as I said. I kept thinking of Spider-Man 2 when you've got Doc Ock climbing up the walls, they're having the fight on the walls with the tentacles and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really good kickstart set piece. And again, this is why I feel that some Marvel films have struggled, is that they focus so quickly on setting up to X, Y, and Z to X, Y, and Z to set up A, B, and C. What this one is doing is actually taking its time to, again, remind you that this is a self-contained story within one film. And it's a really cool way for Strange to get introduced to America. And also, if because they've got to take into account people might not see everything at home. Little things like Benedict Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yes.
Like, yes, we learn that in Spider-Man, but it's really little things like that you still need to remind people about in this. And I think that's what's important.
It's a very good setup. It's very good pacing. Like, there's something that I noticed whilst watching the film, even throughout all the different acts that we have in it. I never felt like I was wanting to look at my watch or kind of thinking, oh, okay, how far from the end are we and stuff like that. Especially in that first act, it breezes through really, really quickly because it has so many action set pieces kind of stacked against each other and stuff like that. And then we, after those kind of set pieces, we go to the farm. And I can't believe I didn't pick up on this in the trailer, because we see shots of the farm and her picking apples and stuff like that. Then we also see, I look back at the trailer, and then we also see the farm disappearing in a red mist. And I'm like, how on earth did I not figure out that was just kind of like Wanda kind of like, putting on a hex and stuff like that. And it's clear that she's got a lot more powerful since reading that book and obsessing over her kids in that kind of end credit scene of WandaVision. And immediately we get that line from the trailer, like, I do something bad, or whatever the line goes, like, I do something bad and the world hates me, you do something bad and like the world heralds you as a hero. I don't think that's fair. Like, that line means so much in this film. Like, she has a point there, but it's like the cranked up kind of almost villain talk, which he immediately calls her out on. And you immediately find out that straight away within the opening kind of, I'd say 20 minutes, that she is the main villain of the film. I don't think anyone was expecting that. I think maybe people were thinking, oh, maybe she kind of turns evil at some point and there's some big villain behind it. But no, she is straight up the only villain of this film. And she's going to do a very good job about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing for me with this as well, is that it doesn't waste any time. And again, jumping into the Sam Raimi stuff, mainly the Spider-Man films, they've all got runtimes like 2 hours 5, 2 hours 10. They're always well paced. And when this film came out, that the runtime was 2 hours and 6 minutes, including credits, which is a big thing for Marvel.
Yeah,
you kind of think that this isn't going to be this. I mean, listen, I don't mind some longer films. I love stuff like Dune and obviously just long films as a whole. But I'm a bit cranky at every Marvel film being 2 hours 4. I mean, listen, No Way Home, you can get away with it. You're merging 3 Spider-Man together, blah, blah, blah. You can get away with that. Eternals, introducing characters for the first ever time, a group of 10 people, 2 hours 40. No, I'm sorry, they've not earned a 2 hour 40 runtime. Endgame, again, that's earned over 11 years. But for this, like 2 hours, Doctor Strange. And then again, pre the film, it's going to set up X, Y, and Z. It's going to introduce X, Y, and Z. And it just didn't waste any time. And the Scarlet Witch thing was great, because I think it wouldn't work if it was this ridiculous halfway point. I actually hired the monsters to kill you, and you don't need that. She should. I mean, she's not afraid of her power. She is saying, "I'm going to literally come to this place, take the child, and go." And this is why, because I want to see my children.
I did immediately think, couldn't she have just turned around and gone, "I just read your mind," like, to get away with it and maybe play coy for a bit longer? But she was straight in with, oh yeah, I gave it away. Okay, I guess I'll just kind of show that I am the villain, like heading forwards and stuff like that. I think.
Why did she need to burn down the farm though? Like, I know it's really petty and irrelevant, but like, listen, I know you're evil and I love your costume. I love the red mist, but are you just living on a charred farm now? Like,
yeah,
it's minor, but it did make me think it was a bit odd.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially what's been said in the comments, like, in the comics she snaps, it's kind of that same level as kind of the Phoenix Force and stuff like that. Like, if you look up kind of who are the strongest comic book characters of all time, I'm sure that Scarlet Witch is up there somewhere as one of the strongest. So to be able to see her kind of like just starting off, not knowing full force because she gets there later on in the film, but just kind of like, you know, playing the part and stuff like that, clearly stating exactly what she wants, which none of the villains ever do. It's always, I have to be sneaky, apart from Thanos, who was like, yeah, give me stones. Like, everyone else has been very much kind of like, oh, I've got this secret plan. Once it's revealed, you'll finally find out my true intentions. Whereas she just goes, I want my kids. I'm going to steal the kid or the kid's power to get them. You must hand it over right now. Just straight up. And then she actually goes over to Cumberbatch and absolutely, well, I mean, she has the conversation with Doctor Strange first where he tries to talk her down, and then she absolutely decimates the place.
Yeah. And I think it's something we kind of knew was coming. That, again, you know, we've seen WandaVision, we know what she's capable of. If you're going to introduce her now as a villain to the public, because WandaVision is point of view, it is her, you know, it is her story and what the grief has done to her, and put her in that mindset until we get to the end. Kind of going with Barris as well. You know, I was aware from the comics what happens if Wanda snaps, and she did. I love the whole thing that she kind of said she was doing mercy on them, because I think that gives them, you know, that way that she can make it worse. And just that, the scene of just I mean, I wouldn't even say she's massacring them, like she's still going easy on them. And what I loved was when she's trying to get in their minds, and it's just that like one guy, and then you just have her, you know, coming out of his silhouette, essentially telling him to run. Wasn't intensely horror. And what I'd give credit to Raimi for with this is that with Wanda's character arc, and actually Pariah's put this in again, it's just because, you know, she's an evil, she's broken mad. We see the development of her go from at the start of the film to wanting the kids, you know, to sending people months out to go get them, to the final point where we've got her massacring every single person, left, right, and center, to get to them, no holds barred. Very typical like horror trope, like, you know, someone's limping with an injury, they doesn't care, they're just going to keep going through it to get to their mission. And I love that we never got to see too much of her from the get-go. They steadily had her sort of decline in terms of, you know, health or whatever madness, into being that Scarlet Witch for the big finale. And I think to see her descend as hard to get even worse and worse when you get to the final scene of the kids, that's where that hits home. And that works because we've seen her become so obsessive and corrupted that scene can work. And I just think it's a really smart way of Cumberbatch. And kind of Cumberbatch, I'd actually like to ask you, because some of the really cool Doctor Strange stuff, I mean, we're not going to sit here and speak about contraption designs, but I loved I know it's not the mirror dimension, but when Doctor Strange gets to do weird stuff, you know, like we had that, all the pointy things came out, the pulling through the water stuff. I loved all of that. And again, it's stuff that we've not seen before, but it's inventive. And we, you know, listen, it's fine to wave your hands and do your portals and everything, which is great. But we need, you know, this
needs some weird.
Yeah, he's called Doctor Strange for God's sake. He travels multiverses and other dimensions, and he's a wizard with unlimited capabilities. And I think that's one thing, jumping back to Raimi, that someone told us on, we get so much more than just people waving hands and doing hand magic things. You get proper set pieces with it. And I think the Cumberbatch stuff is a really good like first act ending point as well.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's a place we know before. It's known as a solid base. Like no one's ever kind of invaded there or anything like that. And then suddenly it's just completely destroyed by one person on their own, not an army. And that kind of shows off immediately the power. Yeah. And also the early signs of desperation that she's willing to go to either kill a child to save her own or use the child. And I think it starts off as, I'm just going to borrow the child, like send myself somewhere. And then over the film, it just slowly descends and descends and descends. I've seen people commenting online, oh, Wanda was never that broken. Like you see her at the end of WandaVision, she's fine. She's doing okay. She's not only reading the Darkhold at the end of WandaVision, she's hearing her kids' voices. She basically has had to come to terms with like the horrible situation that she dealt with in Westview, but also like, and she points out in this film, she killed her lover, her like soulmate, and it meant nothing. And for that to be the case, especially when like Doctor Strange and Tony both had the decision, or at least Tony had the decision to say, we're not going to rewind time with the snap. We're going to kind of keep the last 5 years. If they'd have rewound time, then Vision would have been saved. And it's kind of sacrifices like that other people made. And like, she never had a choice. And she almost saved the day at one stage if Doctor Strange hadn't have done what he did. So for that all to be kind of wound up, I can understand why exactly she's not A, willing to work with Doctor Strange on this, but also B, how that level of desperation can come about like so early on in the film. And I don't understand why people are complaining about, oh, she just went full on kind of mad or full on evil from the very start. We've seen that in WandaVision. We get inklings of that straight away from this film. So having her turn like that and having her kind of rip up the place, you need that early on to really set the tone of how far she's already gone.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's really good you said that, because going even back to that doctor at the wedding, is that its perspective is everything. You know, we as the audience, we know the perspective that Doctor Strange looked in 14 million different timelines, not timelines, sorry, predictions, scenarios, and he found the one that won. And I think this is what's quite telling as a viewer, is that the Doctor in the wedding, he would never know that, and he's got no reasonable right to know that. And Wanda as well, to her, she's just killed Vision, and Doctor Strange has just given Thanos the time stone to just rewind it and absolutely massacre him. Like, he's ripped his face off. And I think that's what I found very interesting, the stuff from this, is that it's been so naturally set up. And actually, it's kind of made me not respect WandaVision more, because I really enjoyed WandaVision anyway. I think that has been by a country mile the best show of the Disney Plus ones. You know, by it being her point of view, that makes her character arc so much more interesting moving forwards, because we all got to spend time with her. And I think it's, without sounding like we're snobs or anything, like, the general audience won't be aware of terms like alignment, allegiances, all that kind of like basic theory stuff. I'm sure Cumberbatch fans will all be well aware. And, you know, through being with her point of view, we understand her and she'll gain fans. But they've got to see ultimately she is the villain, that she did take an entire town hostage. You know, it kept them trapped. No one could come in or out. Essentially, you know, program them for, I can't remember how long WandaVision went on for, in terms of in canon. And it's that kind of thing that it does have an effect in this, and we get to see, you know, in that gap from WandaVision through to this. Great comment I want to bring up, actually. Was she okay? She had no compassion for the people in Westview, didn't take any responsibility, added another trauma and ice herself. This will help you mental sure. Exactly. And it's things like that, you know, again, didn't take any responsibility. And it's, you know, when she's killing those people and she's like blaming, you know, Doctor Strange, like, oh, you killed these people because you didn't give me the children. It's that villain self-justification. And I think what Sam Raimi's really good with the writing villains is that he knows how to make it come across them being evil, but from a point of view where you can understand their mythology and why they are the way they are. And I think Doctor Strange straight away says, you know, you're the people we're trying to stop. You're saying the words that our enemies say. And it's so black and white from the get-go that you know she's the villain, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think full credit goes to Elizabeth Olsen in this film. Like, we'll get into more of it, but her and Sam Raimi together felt like just natural chemistry. Like, you could tell they were both having, I mean, they probably would have had a fun time filming it, maybe, but her working with him, I thought was a match made in heaven. I think she, like, I hate the time I understood the assignment, but her approach to this film, to the character, is so believable, and it just felt like natural progression. Her performance throughout this, I think this is her film, and you know, we have had it before. I think a lot of people have said this. A really great reviewer said the other day, I can't remember which one of the American ones, but it should have just been called WandaVision, sorry, Wandaverse Doctor Strange, or something like that, because you know, it doesn't beat around the bush saying it's all multiverses. The core of this film is that Wanda's after a kid that can travel the multiverse, and Doctor Strange has got to try and stop him. And yeah, that's sort of how Wanda leaves. Should we talk about some multiverses?
So basically, America Chavez's power is that whenever she's afraid, she can punch a star through the universe, like Kirby. Like, it's an interesting power. It's quite nice visually, actually. I wasn't I saw it first time, I went, that's a bit unusual, and then I kind of got used to it, and it's like, okay, I can get along with this and stuff like that. But so they kind of travel through there to kind of save themselves and stuff like that, to get away from Wanda. Wong doesn't get away, sadly. He is held captive, but the two of them go through a very nice sequence where they go through like 10 different or 12 different universes. I'm sure as soon as someone kind of gets a breakdown of all of those, we'll be able to kind of run through some that may, I don't know if we're going to come back to any of them or not. There was one interesting one, which was the only reaction I got, or well, there's another reaction when it got to the Illuminati bit, but when it went cartoon, some people in my cinema chuckled.
Yes, there was. I laughed at the first time, because it's. I'm going to be blunt with the concept of the multiverse. Like, yes, we know that there's going to be, you know, X amount of your own, you know, us humans, but there would be multiverses where it's different. And you know, the paint thing was really like creepy. Like, that's not That's not meant to be horror. The logic of them being paint that's flowing, and we get there's like an onion dicer when they're like going through and their faces are popping up. We get like body horror stuff, but you know, in a couple of seconds, you've got to show a multiverse what we're capable of. And there's another big multiverse film at the moment, which which there'll be a review out the next week. But you just need that thing. And again, you've got to treat you honest. Everyone's not aware of a concept of a multiverse. There'll be people that go see this that might not have seen Spider-Man, that might not have seen Everything Ever All at Once, or any of a multiverse stuff recently. And they'll just need a basic explanation of what are they, what does it mean? And even the simple scene of her walking in the street, where it's just like, you know, every multiverse is different. They've all got their own rules. It's as simple as that. And I like the fact it didn't have to sit there explaining the science of it, trying to figure out who's who, where's where. It was like, let's go find my Doctor Strange. And it was really simple and it's effective. And I guess we could say the multiverse they stick. And actually, unless we want to speak about the memory stuff, we obviously get America's origin. So due to this, I think we kind of hinted that not ever a couple of countries have banned this film because she has two mothers in it, which is just so backwards. It's unbelievable. I couldn't give a shit what the countries' hierarchies think. But I will say this. Not often we have to credit Disney for human rights stuff. Very rarely, and actually very current with other things. But they got it right for once by just saying, you know what? We're not going to edit this. Shove your screens up your ass. Yeah, it's feel bad for the fans, but they're doing the right thing. And I don't know if you know about the whole Warner Brothers thing where they cut 6 seconds of Fantastic Beasts for it to be allowed to come out in China. And like, I guess that also shows how watered down the relationship is, that it only takes 6 seconds of dialogue removal to say that they weren't a couple.
I'd say that kind of that scene of kind of with the bee, or was it a wasp? Like,
yeah, it's a really cool way to show how she got the power in her entrapment. That when she gets afraid, she does this and she can't control it.
And the fact that she thinks for all these years that she's killed her parents when actually her two mums could be anywhere in the universe, and it may come in a later film. Like, I don't know what her next IP she's going to be in. I'm assuming she'll be kind of tied into Doctor Strange now from the way that she's left at the end of the film. But it's really interesting because if you remove that scene, you don't get any of the context as to her origin.
Yeah. Or why she can't control the power.
Correct. So you need that scene. It's integral. And it is longer than the 6 seconds that was cut from Warner Brothers for Fantastic Beasts. But it's, dare I say, the only criticism I can have of that is it's quite a cheap way to give that backstory. Just go, here's a memory machine that will show you the memory that we absolutely need as part of the context of this film. One of them is a Doctor Strange memory with Christine, and the other one is going to be America Chavez's origin story. So it's like, oh, those are the two things which are relevant. One of them even shows the watch, which we're definitely going to need later. It's a bit kind of like, it's a bit cheesy in that way. I don't know how else they could have done that. But we do get a scene before then, which I do want to talk about very, very quickly, with probably the only cameo in the film outside of the Illuminati, with Bruce Campbell, who is in every single Raimi
Pizza
film,
Popper?
I want to say. Pizza Popper dude. Is that what he's credited as?
I don't know if he's credited Pizza Popper dude, but he calls himself Pizza Popper in the film, which I thought was excellent. And you know what? He was really bad. I mean, I've not dinner science doesn't help, but I'm really curious. Like, I mean, are pizza balls just meatballs like wrapped in cheese with toppings on?
I'm not gonna lie, they would be fantastic.
One. Yeah. And I'm really hungry at the moment. I'm gonna get dinner after, but it did make me think.
Are they gonna be like, you get like in UK you get Pizza Express dough balls. Are they like those, but just with like cheese on the outside? I would eat those. Oh my god!
Someone will make it. It'll be at the next Comic-Con. But listen, I did that predictions video last week, and you know it was a very chilled video. It wasn't to be taken seriously. I'm not going to be one of those people that screeches and screams and cries when things don't go the way they want to. In many IPs, there's a lot of people love doing. But there was an inkling thought. Okay, we know Bruce Campbell's getting a cameo. He said it. Raimi said it. No one needs to hide it. And on May the 4th, on April Fool's Day, he tweeted himself as Doctor Strange. Obviously, he wasn't going to cameo as Doctor Strange.
No.
But I was like, are we going to get, again, because the whole multiverse thing and the way I guess we could maybe say the way this film has been marketed and spoken about, I thought, are they going to go as meta as possible? Like, are we going to actually see Ash from the Evil Dead films? Like, that would be crossing a limit, but
Yeah.
because this is the one film where nothing's impossible, quotation
Mm.
marks, until obviously laws come into play. I was like, or are we going to get, remember Mysterio when he just pop up as a random dude in each film? It was all connected. And listen, it was neither, and I couldn't care less because it was a fun cameo. And I guess, we can say it. He comes again, it has a payoff right at the end of the film. And that is the Evil Dead reference, which is the eyes, the Raimi zoom as well.
Yeah.
And is this show? It's
the
it's
one
over.
thing we're missing. The one thing we're missing was a groovy. That is the only thing we're missing.
And what was great with the cameo? It wasn't a big deal. There wasn't this grand entrance.
No, do you know what? I've seen a lot of hate online for that, saying that it was a massive troll as a second end credit scene. A lot of people have been arguing back. A lot of people have been arguing back, saying, well, most of the second end credit scenes anyway are kind of they pay off a joke from earlier on in the film and stuff like that. And I'd say this is on par with the as far as meta and kind of humor as the Captain America one from Spider-Man Homecoming, with the this is like and stuff like that. Like
Deadpool
I think
one. Deadpool did what was it called? I forgot the name.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah,
and I feel like there's been another one in the last year with Marvel where the second credit scene has been really pointless.
I mean, we can talk about the Eternals one because that was.
I can't even remember. I'm not. Gonna...
That was
that's the only MC. That's the only MCU film.
And Harry Styles.
Oh, Harry. Yeah, but at least that might mean something eventually.
It might mean something in context of other things, but I mean, this one, it was a joke. It paid itself off. It was nice to see the cameo in there as well. As far as kind of this is kind of the one part of the film where it dies down a bit. There's not really much happening. Wanda's basically torturing Wong and finds, I can't even remember the name of the place where she takes him in the end, where the final battle takes place.
Did they call it like, it felt like really almost like Wanda? Like I felt like, is this meant to be like a Wanda weird reference thing? Like it had a very weird name. Like only, no one had been there before, that's fine. But the name for the sort of tower thing. Bavari. Like they showed the shawarma scene in the first Avengers. Hey, listen, I never knew. I mean, I'm not sort of well known of food, worldwide foods, but I'd never heard of shawarma until the Avengers. No, people probably laugh at that. It's like falafel. I've still never had falafel, but all I can ever think of is the dude from Batman Begins. And it's like, I have kids to feed. It's like you say they don't like falafel. And I've never had it because I'll wait till there's a rainy day and someone's selling it on the streets to ruin the scene.
It's called Mount Wungador.
Oh, Wungador. Okay. See, I thought it was like Mount Wonder. I was like, this is really.
Apparently, it has context in the kind of. Yeah, it has.
I mean, Scarlet Witch had her. Maybe it's something to do with House of M. I've not read that since I was a lot younger, but I'd imagine it's Scarlet Witch orientated.
Possibly, but she kind of takes Wong there. They face off against some guards, but it's actually a shrine swerve that kind of seals off that entire thing, and that takes up I wouldn't say a long chunk of the film, but this is kind of the point of the film where it slows down until Doctor Strange goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum in this new universe. He finds Mordo. Mordo makes them take some funky tea, and
I love that bit.
They end up in the arms of the Illuminati.
Can we talk about the Danny Elfman score really quickly?
Yeah,
I don't know what on earth. I mean, obviously we don't know what's in the tea. It's the sands of something, but I absolutely adored the weird soundtrack for when she's preparing the spell to move multiverses. It felt like the Matrix, like so weird approach to it. It was so cool. Not Doctor Strange. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was really cool and really out there. And I was like, I've not really heard this sound before in a blockbuster, and it didn't fit in with the rest of the score, which made it stand out that much more, which I really appreciate. And I'll speak about another Danny Elfman scene later, but I think his score was. I've listened to it a lot today throughout work, and I actually think he's made an absolute banging score for this film.
Do you think it's very interesting that they moved on from Giacchino for the first film? Yeah.
Well, it's the whole Raimi thing, isn't it? Like Raimi came on board, Scott Derrickson left, and the thing Michael Giacchino is is it an understatement to say he's busy? Like he's now directing a Marvel Halloween special as well as composing it, and he's done Spider-Man, he's doing Lightyear, he's doing another Jurassic World. So he's got 2 films out in space for a week in June. I'm fine with him not coming back to this purely on the basis that he is not busy. Like he will be back for more Marvel stuff down the line. And I think with the composers like Danny Elfman, I know he had the big fallout with Sam Raimi on Spider-Man 2, but whatever they put behind them over the years to get him in this, I quite liked it. I quite liked his score, and
it was.
The score was the action scene later is the bit that sells it for me, the fight scene. But I just thought that moment was like, this is a weird soundtrack. Like this is cool. But let's talk. I mean, do you want to talk Mordo before the Illuminati? Because the most wasted character, character, ignore that as well. The most wasted actor in the MCU is Chiwetel Ejiofor, who obviously we got the credit scene from Doctor Strange 1. Or, he turned, made the guy with a broken back, whatever, and they set him up to be the villain. We never got the Doctor Strange 2 to have him as the villain, and then in this film they allude to it already having happened, that he'd been coming for Doctor Strange over the years. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I demand another Doctor Strange film. Cumberbatch is a busy guy; he's done a lot of Doctor Strange appearances.
Yeah,
I just think Chiwetel Ejiofor deserved. And he got a couple of scenes, and I've really enjoyed him in this, but I think Chiwetel Ejiofor is a very good actor who just maybe deserved a bit better. Is that unfair to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, especially when it comes down to it, like when he actually gets used in the fight scene, his final scene of the film, not only does he not use magic to immediately kill Strange when he can't use magic, he goes to stab it, which is like, why wouldn't you? He doesn't have magical abilities. He can't defend himself. Just use magic on him. Like, you kill him immediately. But secondly, Doctor Strange parkours out, and he isn't able to get out of the same situation, which makes absolutely
it is very long. This is what I thought. Okay, this is really... So when I said to you, I think there'll be a second credit scene, I honestly thought this is a scenario in my head that played out. I'm just going to put Farah's comment. This is about the location. She was born there. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. The nurse was a cow. That means they're metaphorical, a real animal, or just a horrible person. This is what I thought the second credit scene would be, because I always know it's a bit jokey. It never means anything. And obviously it's in my head a bit. I thought we would get Iron Man, Tom Cruise just turn up, literally look at all the deads, and they're not like, what the fuck's happened here? And like Mordo's just like, he's in like no man's land. He's stuck at a trench. I thought that would have been a 30-second joke final scene. You've got your Tom Cruise cameo, nothing else. I'm fine it's not. But like I'm just sat thinking, like, is he ever going to get out of that trench? Like, can anyone enter that building?
You assume at some point, like, that wasn't all of the Ultron bots. They probably come back. But what's very interesting is if they do go back to that universe in the future, especially because they ended up dropping off Christine back into that universe, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
they can get there if they wanted to. They got America now.
I wonder if they do go back there, whether Mordo would have taken it over and that be kind of part of the plot. Whether that will come into, because we know that Multiversal War is probably going to be the title of the next Avengers film or whatever you want to call it. Whether they go with that route or whether they put in an Age of Ultron styled kind of midpoint before then have like a kind of second tier villain coming up, or even a first tier villain, just use a second tier villain before they go in with Kang and his various different versions of himself. But no, I think it'll be very interesting because it's another Doctor Strange film where Mordo's kind of left in a very unusual situation where he has context for next films and stuff like that, but it's left up to kind of reason and stuff like that.
Quick comments. I haven't mentioned Rachel. We'll talk about Rachel McAdams because I think she was great in this, and we got a lot more. I think she was fantastic. But it'll come in the next couple of minutes.
I was going to say,
then we've got one from Carl. Did you expect my out there cameos? Carl will bring that up with the Illuminati because that's going to be the really fun bit.
So we'll go in with Rachel McAdams first because, like, I've always rated her as an actress. Like, I absolutely adore her in pretty much every single film that she's in. I think she's a really, really, really talented actress. Once again, underused in the context of Marvel and stuff like that. And we get to see two different versions of her. We get to see the version that Doctor Strange kind of, the one that got away. Obviously, he was snapped away for 5 years and she moved on with her life. She was clearly not snapped in that sense. And we also get to see a different universe's version. what is the universe called? It's 808.
818?
818 or something like that. It can't be 818. That would be too much kind of symmetry.
616
is the main
one.
Marvel
Yeah,
thing. I
which
did hear some
I think
whispers.
Thor 1 had been theorized. I think in the first Thor film, it's on the whiteboard, or the first Avengers. So...
838.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So, Universe 838 version of Christine, who is a scientist. After the death of kind of Doctor Strange, she basically kind of dedicated her life to, I guess, studying the multiverse and studying just kind of different versions that could come
with
through.
The Baxter Foundation,
like
the first big name drop of the film, which got whispers in the first screening, including myself.
Yeah. And even when they mentioned 616, there was one or two people in my screening who started whispering and stuff like that. So it's,
Sorry, the reason I've been looking down, I've been trying to find a Mean Girls meme. Someone sent a great tweet out, and I thought I retweeted it, but I didn't. If anyone's familiar with Mean Girls, I actually really rate. I think it's really funny.
Humongous fan of Mean Girls.
I mean, me and you are the same. We've got older sisters, especially when it's sisters. We see a lot of these films growing up.
I'll put it.
It is fantastic.
Mean Girls, I watched on my own volition, and I love that film. And I recommend.
But I'm saying it's easier when you got older sisters. But there's a great meme where someone put Doctor Strange in every single multiverse. It's the Rachel Mcadams, like, why are you obsessed with me? Yeah, I thought that's a great reference. I'll take that. I really enjoyed that. Again, with this film, I didn't think Doctor Strange was going to get any character development, and actually, what we got was the entire stuff with Christine, why they can't be together. Because, again, he's been in every other film except his own sequel. So you kind of like, where is she? Like, you don't want to turn her into Liv Tyler from The Incredible Hulk. She's just never mentioned again, but the dad is.
Yeah. Well, and it's put very eloquently as well. You always have to hold the knife.
Yeah. And this is what I liked about them, is that we got this almost subplot where we have the two parallels, as you said, the one that lost their Steve and the one where Steve lost her. And it's like not buddy cop, but it's a really interesting way, because you get to learn so much about it, and the whole repetitive cycle, are you happy, Stephen, and all that kind of stuff. I've really enjoyed the relationship in this film. And I also really like the fact that she had moved on, that she didn't sit there waiting at a surgeon's table for 5 years for him, that she did move on with her life, and they can't be together and he can't be with her. So I think we got more Rachel McAdams than I thought, and I'm glad we did. Now, whether this is the end of her arc, I do not know. I'm glad the multiverse ones didn't get together. That would have been a bit weird, but I like that sort of the mutual respect they had for each other. And they're like the confession they couldn't make to the real life counterparts.
Yeah, no, it was nice closure from kind of what we'd seen from our characters so far, if you could say that, especially towards the end where they kind of help each other out and they kind of go on a bit of a journey together and stuff like that. And you can definitely see the on-screen chemistry between the two actors. They play off each other very, very well. So it was really nice to see more of her and her character in this film. So she's studying them, and then Mordo comes back in and announces, as stupidly Marvel did in one of their trailers, you'll now be brought forward before the Illuminati. And I'll put it this way. If they
pronounces it great. He's got a fantastic pronunciation.
I know.
Of it.
But there was rumors going into this that the Illuminati were going to be in there and stuff like that. We had like Tom Cruise is going to be Iron Man, stuff like that. It's going to be bonkers, and we're going to get to see a different version of each other. Marvel's Illuminati is reasonably well known with people who know Marvel and stuff like that. So to have that dropped in one of your trailers with about a week to go for the film, I think that's awful. I genuinely do. And that spoiled one of the surprises of the film. Imagine going into this film completely blind and not knowing that there's going to be a marvelous cast of characters coming through, because now you're expecting things. And it's one of those things where if you're expecting nothing and you get something, you're going to be really grateful. And this is where a lot of people are, especially in the comments with, I think it was just one of the recent comments. Did you expect more out there cameos than we actually got? This is the problem. As soon as they say Illuminati in the trailers, suddenly you're expecting, oh my God, we're going to get these characters. And if you don't get the character that you're expecting or the character that you want, suddenly that's going to be a lot of disappointment for a lot of people. Sure, we got some really, really good kind of character kind of characters thrown in there, like especially Reed Richards, kind of the first time Fantastic Four's been put back on and stuff like that.
Why is he invisible though? It didn't mean it was so. I get it.
He's meant to be the smartest man. He's probably got the technology to be able to do that and stuff like that.
Just pretending to be invisible.
He's pretending to be his wife, obviously. But it's John Krasinski, who everyone wanted
is the fan
to be
casting.
Reed Richards. And here's the thing.
Emily Blunt had to stop asking, didn't she? She had to tell them to stop asking her.
Well, this is the thing with Marvel. All of the other cameos were people who've been previously seen in Marvel properties and stuff like that. John Krasinski, I mean, that basically guarantees that he will be Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four film. Will he? Ooh, I think it will, because with all of the other cameos, they are different people that we've seen in the film. So unless he ends up being Doom, or their version of Doom, and there's a slight twist on it, I doubt that he's going to be anything other than Reed Richards, which kind of guarantees that Emily Blunt's going to be it's just going to go on from there and stuff like that, like Sue Storm.
All right, okay. I'm going to decide for Carl's comment.
Yeah.
Now, because I think expectation versus wanting is the fascinating thing. Now, I expected more, not out of wanting, out of maybe the hype of the film, saying everyone's gonna be in it. Like the rumors, the Gary Oldman, everyone from Leon, that had been doing the round. I think like someone put like Kevin Feige's hat on and was like, Kevin Feige, get me everyone. I'm not gonna do the Gary Oldman shot. I'm not that good. And this is kind of it. Like, strangely enough, I didn't know who to expect, and that was part of the charm heading into the film. Like, I know through research anyway, I knew who core members of the Illuminati were. I can't pronounce the show to large, I know he's British, but he's got a fantastic pronunciation on Illuminati. I don't know how he does it. But
yes,
in terms of expecting more out there, and this is kind of it. By like, I'm going to draw as far back as this. Why did they put Professor X in the trailer? Because had that not have been known, I would have like hit the roof. Unless it's because they knew his fate, so they didn't want to make it too thing. Really good comment. Feige said in the interview he was unhappy with the marketing. They revealed too much. This is no longer his decision. Disease. Fantastic point.
Interesting.
There. Because, and this is what I'll say with this film. As you said, Tate, there were 6 cameos plus Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell is more of a Sam Raimi cameo than a Marvel cameo, and I just didn't know what to expect. I don't think Dead Thanos counts, but I'm glad we didn't get Josh Brolin coming back in. That was the Eternals rumor, I think, and maybe because Marvel's reached this point where every film has cameos, and I guess when you have a successful cinematic universe, it's very natural to assume people will pop in. Now, I don't want to say expected, I don't want to say wanted. I was in this weird middle ground where if Tobey Maguire had turned up, because it's Sam Raimi, I thought that was a possibility. Now, actually, in my prediction video, he won't, and I was confident he won't. Sony wouldn't let him bet on, but also B, that would be too big not to have leaked. Like if Tobey Maguire was going to come back again into Marvel, and versus ones we wanted to see. I mean, let's talk Tom Cruise. I know he's not in it. We'll actually speak at the Illuminati. What do you think? So I'm sure you're familiar with the original story that in the late 90s. Carl, don't apologize, my friend. Do not apologize. I'm on the same logic as you, and this is what I'm going to get into with the Tom Cruise thing. So obviously the story of the late 90s is that Tom Cruise was attached to Iron Man pre-MCU, pre-Marvel, pre-Spider-Man. And, obviously Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. He kind of is, naturally looks a bit like, not Robert Downey Jr., like Iron Man. Tony Stark in the comics. And I think it must have cropped up like a year and a half, like 2 years ago. Someone's like, I wonder if like Tom Cruise could cameo because it's multiverses. I think at the time it was just more like people discovering that was almost real. Yeah. And I think the rumor came from people finding out that Tom Cruise was once almost Iron Man in the 90s. And to me, that would have been a really, really cool 30-second wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This almost did happen once, and it makes sense to be a cameo in the Mad Cameo film. And I think it doesn't help that last year Mission Impossible has filmed 8 Mission Impossible 8 Dead Enemy or whatever it's called, Dead Reckoning. That it pretty much essentially filmed in England. Like obviously all the set pieces across Europe, but the core studio filming was London. Tom Cruise moved to London. The room, I don't want to talk about personal lives, but the rumors are that Tom Cruise is in a relationship with Hayley Atwell because she's in the new Mission Impossible film. And Doctor Strange filming in London across COVID as well, when you can't move too much. And I think the worlds had aligned for the Tom Cruise cameo, and I think it had so much heat that it's bonkers. And I think so many people discovered it for the first time. And I'd say of any cameo, that was the one I wanted. I mean, listen, I've always been a Tom Cruise fan. I'm just trying to think if any of ones out, like any others I'd love to, I mean, actually, please, people comment who you'd have loved to have seen, because I don't know, Tate, up to the stage. Who is there? Anyone you'd have? There's probably loads I could think of. I actually wanted Reed Richards, but not this Reed Richards.
I'll be honest. I wanted Glenn Howerton and Reed Richards. I know loads of people have been putting in the fan casting and stuff like that. They wanted John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to play alongside. But I always thought from watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that ego that you need with Reed Richards and thinking that they are the smartest person in the room and knowing they're the smartest person in the room, that kind of same energy that Robert Downey Jr. brought to the role of Iron Man, I feel like you would get that more. I mean, we got a little bit from this film from John Krasinski, and he did do the role pretty well, but I feel like Glenn Howerton would have absolutely tuned that up. So I was really looking forward to that. But once again, like we said,
I wanted Ian Grufford, the original, because I'm going to say it, I really like that first Fantastic Four film. Now, I was 9 years old when it came out, and it is one of those films that I have not gone back to, because if I go back to it, it might change my mind on the film. But sticking with Fantastic Four, sorry to jump in, I was going to nab one more. There was a rumor a long time ago as well that Chris Evans had signed up to be in a Marvel film, not playing the role of Captain America, but he would appear in a film.
Yeah.
Bingo. And that was another rumor. And I think, I've got some great comments here. Bavari, I'm happy there were not so many cameos. Marvel should turn this down, take a step back. I'm with you on that. We'll get to that in a bit as well. And Carl, I remember reading the heavy reshoots, the rumors that adding cameos after No Way Home was just a rumor. No, they were rumors. They were reported on by outlets with credibility as well. Tate, any others you can think of that you'd have loved?
Not off the top of my head, but when we actually get down to it of what we got, like
I think they're pretty radical.
Context,
they're pretty radical.
So
they just ruined it by saying they're in it.
We've got Hayley Atwell, so that's kind of half of your
Captain Carter as well.
Half of your possible power.
Again, and this is it. Like when Hayley Atwell turned up, I was like, oh my god, they got Hayley Atwell, they got Tom Cruise. That was how pathetic my mentality was.
Yeah. Sorry, just with Ari. Imagine if she'd have turned around and said, "I'm going to enjoy killing you, Captain." He goes, Captain.
Honestly, there's
there was so much you could have done there. It would have been very interesting.
Because of that first trailer, they split the Marvel Studios logo up with the original Marvel ones, and they were like fragmenting all the different eras of Marvel. I'll tell you what I loved, getting very modern. I'd have took Ghost Rider starring Nicolas Cage. I'd have took him in a heartbeat just to see Nicolas Cage screaming. I don't know why. I actually quite like Ghost Rider 1 as well. Oh god,
who we actually get in the end? Because we get Lashana Lynch,
I love Lashana Lynch's cameo. So Captain Marvel, because everyone thought it would be her daughter who was in WandaVision. That was the heavy rumor, and I'm glad that it was her. With Lashana Lynch, I didn't like the fact they killed her off screen. Like, I don't mind Captain Marvel. I think the film is absolutely fine. That's I saw it last year for the retrospective, and it's very interesting reading people's takes on it. People enjoy it, and I think it's absolutely fine. Obviously, because of Lashana Lynch, obviously I'm a big Bond fan as well. I think because Lashana Lynch is getting quite big now in terms of actress career stature.
I think they tried to bring it back.
Yeah, people will look back and not see it as a missed opportunity. But because at the time she wasn't a big name, and I don't think she's as big a name now, as in she's not an A-lister.
Yeah.
But Marvel will look back in the years that come and will say, could have had her for a couple of films. And I think this was a great way to get the nod of the head, isn't it?
Yeah.
What more frightening a sight for some people than the woman they thought could be James Bond actually playing their biggest evil in Captain Marvel? Some absolute rotten people online. This is what I'm scared for, because everyone's going to see it tonight, the Americans, and there's going to be a lot of stuff about Lashana Lynch and Captain Marvel. And I'm glad it wasn't the one from WandaVision, because she's going to clearly be in. Is it called the Marvels next year?
Marvels,
Marvel 2? And obviously, Miss Marvel's going to probably set up that film, which I'm very curious by that show. Actually, very curious indeed. But
I mean, it's all going to link together, like all of the other Marvel properties, like are going to link there at some stage. I mean,
have you ever seen Inhumans? Sorry,
no.
Black Bolt. I think he's called Black Bolt.
He's called Black Bolt. Yeah.
Fork on his head. I laughed at that line. Listen, I knew he was something to do with sound. I've not watched Inhumans, and I just sat there when it came up.
I'll put it this way: I don't think anyone's seen Inhumans.
I think that's the joke. That's the joke of the cameo, because he is in the Illuminati. And no offense to people that do watch Inhumans, but I'm pretty sure one of the Inhumans was cast in Eternals. I might be wrong. But to me, that was like a joke. Like, I'm trying to think what other films had it for.
That means Inhumans is canon now. That means we need to watch Inhumans now. It's
like another multiverse, though.
I know, but as soon as they pulled in, the Marvel Netflix shows and stuff like that, they all became canon. And suddenly I was like, oh, we now need to watch.
Here's what we're missing.
We now need to watch season 2 of Iron Fist. Why? I didn't.
Wesley Snipes cameoed in What We Do in the Shadows as Blade. But not in Multiverse. I mean, we're going to get Blade. I think Rolex have charge. Again, if you've not watched What We Do in the Shadows, please watch the TV show.
Oh yeah, 100%. Fantastic.
Bavari, be happy you didn't. Unfortunately, I did. That's definitely about the Inhumans.
Do you know what? Funnily enough, because I've seen this character now, I'll give it a watch, and I'm going to regret it, and I'll report back to you guys on it.
I remember seeing the awful wig. There was some of a terrible ginger wig in all the posters, and Marvel it's our first show, and then I'm guessing they saw the cut. I was like, no, let's pretend this didn't happen.
Yeah. But having Anson Mount, who I almost pronounce as Mason Mount, showing up as Black Bolt. It's interesting. It's fun. It's taking in. He is one of the original members of the Illuminati, so that makes sense to have that character in there. You've got Captain Carter, Haley Atwell, who's brought across from the What If series.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
That's another thing brought over from What If. That's quite cool. But I feel like I know that Captain Britain's a character. It does bother me that it's Captain America and then it becomes.
Well, it's Captain Carter. I think, but for the concept of What If, I don't mind it. For the concept of a What If scenario, pulling that character over, Hasbro is probably like, now we're going to get another Captain America shield out there. We can turn into 200 pounds. Thing.
Do you know what though? I really like that shield. So, dare I say, is it better than the Captain America shield?
I don't know why. Does she need a jetpack? Like, she's got Captain America's strength. I don't mind it.
Sure, why not? I mean, if she's given the technology of that time, you do start to think, well, who built the Ultron robots in that universe and stuff like that?
Tom Cruise, Iron Man.
But you've also got, of course, Charles Xavier coming in there as well.
He did the meme. Did you do the
Yeah.
Because we knew it was going to be the X-Men 97 one, which is the yellow meme. Obviously, again, because we knew who's going to be in the film, and that stupid TV spot had the yellow wheelchair in. All I can ever think of is the meme of the head and the circles. And it's like, when we show you, he did, and I was sat there, like, the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like, he did the thing. And it was like, that was me watching Professor X getting the wabbing helmet thing.
Yeah.
And I love it.
But do you know what, here's the thing. The scene, okay? The actual Illuminati scene, I was like, oh, I'm expecting more from this. I was expecting more of a conversation. I was expecting more stuff from that scene itself. What they actually did with the Illuminati, however, and we're going to talk about it now, easily the most brutal deaths in the MCU.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
Bavari, it wasn't the same person. Yes, what I meant by that is that it is the same concept, like the scenario happened in the other multiverse. And going through to take Campbell, before that as well, just the Illuminati in this, they're essentially their Avengers.
Yeah.
Which I think was cool. Because it's kind of... I love the fact, they defeat Thanos, and they said, we make the calls that other people can't, which I guess is the whole concept of the Illuminati as well in real life.
Yeah.
No, it's not real, but...
But in the same way, because in the comics, I believe that the Illuminati, I think they collect the Infinity Stones themselves. And it's very interesting that their version of Doctor Strange kind of makes the mistake, goes and accidentally kills another universe, and they decide to punish him by killing him and not banishing him or doing something else. It's very interesting that they're that brutal and that kind of like not up themselves, but they're at that stage where they're completely okay with killing their friend because of a mistake that they made. even though in the context of the actual situation, he saved their own universe.
Yeah, it's a fascinating because it's that whole moral dilemma. Like, is it the right choice versus the wrong choice? And I guess because he did the Dark God and they basically say he destroyed. Because I thought when they started talking about him, I thought, oh my god, like, is this the Doctor Strange from What If? Obviously, it's not. But I was like, oh, the whole that he ended up being alone, but he was because he was sleepwalking, and like he destroyed it via sleepwalking. I thought it was a very interesting moral concept from them. But I guess ultimately that's something crude. I didn't care because they all died, and I think this is what made it so great. And it reminded me of like Rogue One, like, Bavaria in the comics. They're from the different universe, not the same one. That's quite an interesting concept. I'd imagine for this.
I assume. Here's the thing: we're going to see the Illuminati again. I feel.
I think we'll get them again.
We're not. We're going to get different versions of the Illuminati across different universes. Yeah. Comment
from Cole: Kami would have wanted, not because I predicted it. I thought Kang. I thought we'd have got Kang in this because obviously Ant-Man's coming out in February, and I thought multiverses.
You've also got. Isn't he meant to be Iron Boy or something like that?
That's going to be in Armor Wars, the new Armor Wars. The character's going to get introduced in Black Panther 2. I think later this year, but that will probably all be from.
That's another version of Kang, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not too familiar with Kang's history now. I've avoided reading comics, and I'm pretty sure like someone's hinted that he's a descendant of Reed Richards in one take as well, which is pretty cool.
Interesting.
But Kang's going to be clearly a big bad for a long term, and I thought what I kind of seen in their predictions video is that I thought the Illuminati would all survive. We'd get them for one scene, and then like not Kang would come in and kill them, we'll see them again, and they'll get off to another film. But in that prediction, I said they need to serve a dramatic purpose, and this is where we get the Wanda scene, which I thought was just fantastic. Like Rogue One, as soon as you kill the first one, suddenly, then it was the moment the second one goes. That's when they're all going to go, and that's where not humor comes from, but
here's the thing. I'll be honest. As soon as she was in the room with them, all I was thinking was, they are not surviving this. I just thought,
especially for killing John Krasinski second, like she turned him into spaghetti. Like that was that's an a cheese string.
Let's go with kind of the least brutal death to most brutal death, in my opinion. So the least brutal death was Captain Marvel. What did you do? You got a statue fall on you. You've got the power of the cosmos. How on earth are you dying from a statue falling on you? That's some weak ass shit.
And you get the great comedy line of like Mordo in the room after, like listening and like, ooh. I mean, I don't think Charles Xavier's is that bad. Like,
I'll be honest though, that's pretty
quick.
That's one of the coolest horror elements that I've seen. Like that isn't body gore horror. That is just like psychological horror, and I'd say that was pretty brutal. I would say that was one of the more brutal ones.
It's quick and decisive, I guess one could say. Without getting psychotic.
She went into his mind. He went into her mind.
He's trying to help her as he always does.
Hoping to set her free and stuff like that. And she just comes up behind with like red smoke, and then just like a demon tormented version of herself snaps his neck, and that kills him. It's like, God, he did the meme
incredible. Again as well before it. No, he did. Sorry, he did the pointing, didn't he? He did the great shot. We get the one of my favorite shots in Spider-Man 2 is the sunglasses from Doc Ock. It's the entire like transition. And we get the whole him pointing going into her eyes into the vision. That looks really cool.
That's a fantastic shot. Yeah. And then I'd say Captain Marvel being sliced in half, I'd say was probably the next kind of brutal one.
Captain Carter. Sorry, yeah. And I think you knew it was coming there. Like, that when they start dying, that, okay, Captain Carter's... And it's when she said, I could do this all day, like, I know that's meant to be obviously a little nod, but like, I was like, she is going to get absolutely bodied. But again, it was Sam Raimi, like, he chooses to show the shield going like through and past,
and then the blood dripping off it. Like, you wouldn't get away with that in any of the other Marvel films.
You get sound effects. You get the sound effects when it goes through, and even like the Gigantos at the start, when the eye it like pops like a jar of pickle, like the eye popped, and people make noise. It's like it's not even horror for that, but it's using devices to create reactions and stuff.
And then we get the most brutal. This might be the most brutal line in the whole of the MCU. I dare you to find a more brutal line than "Do you have a wife and kids?" Good, because at least your kids will be raised by a mother. It's like, damn,
and it's how we went. You got to think the last thing to go is his brain. Like he was literally turning into a cheese string like in midair, nothing,
Yeah.
and it pops at the end, and I was like, oh, like, and this is where I sit with John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Because obviously John Watts has left Fantastic Four last week, and I understand why. He's taking a break. He said he's taking a break from comic book films, doing 3 in a row. I respect that. I think you're right. Like, if John Krasinski is gonna, because he's in a good position now. If he doesn't come back, the fan casting has come true to a point, and we had him. Whether or not it's a meme or a joke, whatever, we had it, and it happens.
I still want Glenn Howerton.
I think we'll get him. I think he'll direct it now. Now that John Watts has stepped down, I think he will direct the film. Obviously starring his wife as well. What I'm curious by is obviously, with it does come true, but if it didn't come true, again, he's just that will be a great cameo, but it'll be very tricky to trick the general audience into thinking here's a new Fantastic Four reboot. But it's the guy that popped in that last one. No, it's a different universe. Unless the multiverse genre is going to get so insane that everyone starts realizing what multiverses are.
If they start saying, I feel like Marvel's marketing move in the future is, if you want to continue watching films from the 616, then there's this line of films. If you want to watch films from the 836, then here's this line of films and stuff like that. So they could easily do that. I know.
Well, yeah, Jared Leto's Morbius. Still not seeing
and then finally, the most brutal death, easily, is and it's so funny because we were watching Twilight Zone the movie this week, or at least we've is the review out already? I can't remember the timeline.
No. 17th of May for people.
17th of May. There you go. A bit of advertising. So we've watched Twilight Zone the movie, and the first thing I thought of when his mouth went was that scene from Twilight Zone the movie with the girl in front of the TV screen with no mouth. That death for a character who, yeah, sure, they were in their own TV show and stuff like that, and they have that ability. We find a little bit about his power if you don't get the context. That is the most brutal death of any MCU character.
See, he says "oh shit" as well, and that's what kills him. Is him saying "oh shit" when his mouth's stuck.
Yeah,
like I think it's like that was like a Tarantino moment.
So is that a suicide?
Technically, by law,
assisted suicide. It's like just blows his own brains out.
Probably not even that. Like, yeah, his mouth's shut, but he's said something. He's probably he's never said something before.
But she's the one who like seals up his mouth.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, because it would have come out otherwise. But this is it. But it's like the way the head cropped to the ground. I think the eyes were like bulging of blood.
Not only that, but you see like the poof out the back. Yeah. It's like everything. You're like, oh, that's gonna give some kids nightmares if they're watching this film. It's fantastic.
I thought it was fantastic, and like again, it's because I'm sorry to many people that's like the Mark Hamill. This isn't going to go the way you think line. That's a line of pop culture now. Yeah, I think that's what that scene was. I'm not saying Sam Raimi's come on board and says, ha, let's kill all the cameos, let's get rid of them all. I don't think it was that. I honestly think it was them saying, can we just have Wanda kill some multiverse superheroes? And I honestly think it's been an amalgamation of this, and this has all come together. And again, it's been overly not exposed in marketing, but because of the hype. And I'd say No Way Home as well probably has a big share in this. People got to think No Way Home was going to come after. And I think this scene feels like it's written in that perspective too. Like, had there not been everything in No Way Home, I don't think people would have had as high expectation for a multiverse film. Whereas had this just set up Spider-Man, that would be a completely different ball game of hype for Spider-Man as well. But what I just found fascinating was they were allowed to kill them all. And obviously you literally have 3 survivors left of Doctor Strange, America Chavez, and even the chase in the tunnel, that was proper horror as well.
Oh yeah, and I feel like if she was completely covered in blood, then that would have been definitely not. That would have been given a 15.
She was barefooted. Like Tarantino was absolutely buzzing.
She was barefooted, but she was covered in like the motor oil from the from all of the Ultron bots that she killed, which was, I mean, it looks a bit like blood, but that's what
probably why they got
away with it and stuff like that.
Oh, Tate, have you seen Batman yet?
I have seen Batman, yeah.
You have seen that? Excellent.
Yeah.
I just want to double check. We're not going to spoil it, but how did Batman get a 15 age rating?
Batman Dark.
I think tonally,
yeah.
This is like what I feel with this film, and I bet it'll come out in an article next month. they probably tested this multiple times with not BBFC but like advisory boards, and I'd imagine they pushed this to the limit.
Yeah.
A bit like, I mean, this isn't even implied violence because that's Dark Knight that has the implied
Would it be
violence,
somewhere between like the difference between comic violence and non-comic violence? Because the Batman film felt more realistic and grounded, whereas this film was definitely totally out.
I was to say, I think the tonal consistence of Batman investigating a sole murderer versus incidental moments of somebody murdering people. I know it's very weird.
Yeah.
It's a great question. Now, I agree. To me, the biggest question still is how the fuck did The Northman get a 15? That is like the most obvious 18 rated film of the last few years, and it got a 15. The BBFC's made some questionable decisions. Batman, I just think if you take a kid to Batman, I think they'll be scared and like scarred for life by the Riddler. I think you take a kid to this, their parents can at least cover their eyes for a couple of seconds. But I would say that this is flirting. Like I think it's them pushing them, and this is what surprised me. Going back to the whole Sam Raimi stuff, I didn't think for 1 minute we'd get a horror sequence of her chasing them down a tunnel because it is oil, it's not blood, and
it looks like blood.
It 100% looks like blood, and everyone's going to sit and say it's meant to be blood. But on technicality, they'll say, well, no, it's oil from the robots.
Yes, and from all the robots that we saw kill off screen.
Another CCTV killing scene of Wonder Vision. It's a very interesting question. There weren't many. I mean, I was at a midweek screen last night. There weren't too many kids, but this leads to the, I guess, not the debate, but the question of parents can take their kids to see this. Like, I mean, I'd have seen this as a kid. Would I be traumatized? I mean, I got scared when Voldemort came through the book in Harry Potter 1 as a 6-year-old, but 5-year-old, sorry. But it's a fascinating one. I mean, I wouldn't, if anyone had young kids I know, I'd tell them not to go, not because I care about the kids, but because I just don't want kids at the cinema when I go. That's really selfish.
Yeah.
If it's the same as in Germany, it has to do with how near it is to reality. I think they see this more as fantasy than Batman. That's probably the best point possible, I think, as well. I guess a bit like License to Kill with James Bond. Like, that's a 15 because it's so tonally out for a Bond film. I mean, it's got drugs and trafficking and all the other stuff. Yeah. But I guess it comes down to the core tone, and I think inherently this film, it probably gets away with it by it being moments more so than consistency. Yeah, no, it's a very good question. And there's a lot of good discussions about age ratings at the moment because they do seem to. I mean, Last Night in Soho got rated 18. Now we know why because of the last scene or two, but that should be a 15. That should be a 15.
Yeah.
Whereas Last Duel is an 18, rightfully so. Even though some people said it shouldn't be, and it definitely should. Sorry, segueing back.
Yes. So we talked about Illuminati. Let's move on. Let's get back on track with where the film's going. So Wanda gets America, the entire continent, and takes America back to her secret lair. And then she kind of starts to begin performing a ritual because she's gone from the start of the film where it's like, I just want to borrow her just for like 10 minutes and kind of get her to star jump me and stuff like that in whatever way possible, so that I can get back to my kids. And then she ends up being just full on, I'm not just going to steal your soul. I'll just straight up kill you if I need to. I need your power because what if the kids get sick? What if this? What if that? And it's just like, ooh, you've gone real evil now. That's. I mean, I know people have been saying, "Oh, she's going mad." No, that's evil. That is evil thoughts. That is absolutely. And whether it's the dark hold taking hold of her, or whether that is just her true intentions of, she needs to save the kids. She needs to get round to the kids and stuff like that. We get Doctor Strange being banished with Christine to, we're calling it the Three-Eyed Doctor Strange dimension, which is kind of collapsing in on itself, which I thought would have more context from the trailers and stuff like that.
I know they said there'd been like an what they call it, insurgence or something, the term for when the realities broke, but this was the one all over the trailers, and I'm not going to lie. I mean, I love the design of it.
Yeah,
I kind of wish it hadn't been in it because of how late it comes into the film. I kind of wish it wasn't in the trailers. It looked so cool.
Here's the thing. From the trailers, everyone was speculating, thinking, "Oh, is this his own reality?" Oh, has he really? Because it came over with the kind of Mordo line, which I don't think we even got in this film. You've messed with the multiverse kind of line and stuff like that.
You get he does the desecration of reality line, but he says it in a
Yeah.
calmer and slower tone. And
Yeah.
then there's another line where Doctor Strange in the trailers speaks about his living.
You mess with the fabric of you mess with the
No,
fabric of reality.
there's a line where he speaks about nightmares, having the same nightmares, and it's actually living. When actually in the film that's spoken by Wanda about the kids in the dream, which is really cool. It's an interesting one, but
I'll be honest. I mean, a lot of people from seeing the trailer and stuff like that, seeing Three-Eyed Strange and seeing, like everything from that, and seeing that as his reality and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, as awesome as the music battle was, I was expecting a lot more from that Strange, especially with the context that he was given, saying that he'd like loads of Doctor Stranges had ended up in his universe and stuff like that. And I thought we were suddenly seeing that one Doctor Strange from What If, or even a Doctor Strange that was able to steal the souls of other Doctor Strangers and was just kind of like, collecting their powers and stuff like that. I don't know. But in the end, we just got a Doctor Strange, but he has 3 eyes. That's it.
I think a lot of people, trailer line they're not used. Actually, it was in the description of this video. I had to remove it because I know yeah, and it's a fantastic line, and it was so good in that trailer, and it was like a meme face. It's become a meme. This Doctor Strange was interesting because he was kind of like a loser, and that sounds really dumb. Like, obviously, he's got the dark holds, but like he was almost scared of his own reality, and I loved what they did with them in the scene. That character development.
Honestly, I never thought. I genuinely never thought I'd see a Scott Pilgrim styled music battle in a Marvel film.
That's one of my favorite moments. It was batshit mental. It was weird. It was fun. It was great on the soundtrack. Danny Elfman living life. Just with that whole scene, I mean, we get the development about his sister. I don't know if that's a thing in the comics. But again, like for a film that's all about jumping into multiverses, I was surprised at how much character development we got for Doctor Strange. We got the sister stuff, which explains inherently why he became a surgeon and he wanted to help people, was because he could never help his sister, which actually really saddened you. Really read into those lines, and obviously wanting to be the best to make sure he can never fail anyone. I love that kind of concept. But off the other Doctor Strange thing, I mean, yeah, that music battle, that was, to me, genius. Like, again, it doesn't need to be big, bloated explosions, mirror dimensions. No. Just the concept of musical notes being weaponized, I thought was amazing. And again, because the score weaves so well with it, the brass instruments on the evil one, and it's got this beautiful segment, and then you get the harp, and it's just, and you get a sound that I've probably not heard since The Last Jedi. When the ship goes, you get that insane sound effect, and honestly, that might be one of my favorite scenes from the entire film. Because Doctor Strange, as we kind of said, it should be weird, it should be different, it shouldn't be normal, and that's the weirdest duel we've ever had, probably in the MCU. Is a music of lyric. You could probably call it Duel of the Fates if you really wanted to. The power of music.
You could. That scene, especially with the music fight, was really cool. I was just expecting more from that Doctor Strange.
Same, yeah.
I don't know if I was expecting him to be. I don't know if I was expecting him to be the main villain of the film or just something else from that scene. But I was expecting more.
It's because of the trailer. It's not just the line from the trailer. It's how he delivers it in that menacing format. When he was never menacing in this, like he just wants to keep all of the Darkhold, and it's really. I mean, we haven't really spoke, but full props to Cumberbatch. I mean, he plays like 4 different Doctor Stranges in this film. You've got like Spanish Doctor Strange, who become a zombie Doctor Strange. You get flashback Doctor Strange for when he turns to sand. Normal Doctor Strange, and this dead on the fence Doctor Strange. I love that Cumberbatch goes for it, and I've got a lot of respect for him. So I guess a lot of A-list actors in roles like this reach popularity points where they don't not do less. Yeah, but they will do the same thing every film, and it's as they say. And you look at a Vin Diesel type thing and whatnot. But full credit for him for like going fully into the wackiness of this film with Sam Raimi. And that's what you want. And I've just got a lot of time for Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's a fantastic actor and a human being as well. He even spoke about like the joys of Doctor Strange as he gets to get other films financed that would never get financed before. Yeah. And that's the right thing you want to do with stuff like this. So, but yeah, I'm listening to you. I wish we had a little bit more. Just maybe another scene of it, maybe a little bit longer in that reality. I love the whole ending on the fence and that he was trying to trade it for for his Christine. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah. And then we go full Raimi. We get. I mean, I'll be honest. Replace the name Darkhold with the Necronomicon, and you've got yourself an Evil Dead film. So, like, we get him performing a ritual with the Darkhold to not only be able to, like, take over the avatar of his zombified self, who is from the start of the film, but also at the same time to be able to, like, dreamwalk and universe jump. So you've got two things happening there with Necronomicon. He's got to fight off demons in his mind, which they do, and then he's able to use the demons to make himself a demon set of wings from these souls of the damned to fly over to Wanda and try and battle against her as a zombified version of himself using demon soul wings. Did I get that right?
It's excellent. It's excellent. all via Skype in the Darkhold end of the universe.
Yeah, literally.
I love this. I thought, again, like a lot of people, we're getting Zombie Strange. They're going to tie it into What If or something, and it's quite interesting actually that it didn't. But I love the idea that it was the Dead Strange from the beginning. It logically made sense, and I love the whole.
I'll be honest. As soon as they buried the Strange in that universe at the beginning, I immediately thought
that'll be the one that comes back.
Okay,
later.
So how's that going to come back later to being kind of zombified Strange, stuff like that?
And it was so. I thought it was such a cool concept, and just the whole, like, when they're flying around the room, like, he tells her she's got to protect him too. She's got like a weird firelight thing, and like they have personalities, like the whole skeleton things as well. Like when they're attacking Wanda later, because it's Sam Raimi, it's Sam Raimi's amazing. It's the point of view horror stuff.
Yeah,
and it's them flying around, zapping in at them, and that's real shot. That is people acting. It's not CGI. It is literally the cameras in their faces at an insane speed, and it's so much fun to watch. And again, as you said, it's 100% Sam Raimi. This is his film, his cinematography coming through, his style. And when you get the final battle, like when he gives the big speech, and he's actually a zombie, that's funny. And as you said, a lot of people saying this film's cheesy. Yes, it's cheesy. But it shouldn't need to be that serious. Like I thought that was quite funny. He just like the wink thing, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah. I think, especially from that kind of end of the film and stuff like that, it's like they have no other way of kind of like her getting over her fear. So him kind of going, look, you just need to get over it right now. Just do whatever you need to do. And she's able to kind of punch her way now through, instead of kind of doing it through fear. She literally punches a star through a dimension. And that's kind of how she uses her power and stuff like that. I don't think there's any other way you can tie it up. I don't think there's any other way you can do it. It's a bit similar to before with the memory lane thing. Like, you've got to have some solution there. They went with a solution that worked for it, and that character now will have that ability and stuff like that to be able to use that. And she used it pretty much straight away. Punches Wanda punches Scarlet Witch into a universe where we have a Wanda with kids. And if there was ever going to be kind of a way of defeating Scarlet Witch in this film, it had to be Wanda taking pity on herself and just saying, and it was really frustrating when I was watching the cinema, because when I was watching, two people were constantly talking behind me throughout the entire screening. And do you know what? They were talking on the way in, and as soon as the kind of credits went up to start and stuff like that, someone actually shushed them in the audience, and they just kind of, they giggled. It was two fully grown men as well. It's absolutely stupid that people are still doing that in cinemas and stuff like that. But they actually talked over this line, and I completely missed it. So I had to wait until I got home to find out that she kind of said, "Know that they will be loved," because I have no idea what she said. And that's a fantastic line that goes along with the kind of like love persevering line that's said in WandaVision and stuff like that, that can be paralleled with that. But I think it's a very interesting way to kind of finish off the story in that way. Whether they kind of, we'll talk a bit about Wanda's fate afterwards, but like the way that they concluded that entire battle and stuff like that, by having kind of America Chavez kind of push her into that situation, stuff like that, and show what kind of a monster she's actually become. I think that's very interesting.
I love the playing Snow White, and obviously the witch comes in, which is Wanda. I really enjoyed this scene because, again, it goes back to that third act problem that so many films have. They go big, they go larger, and they don't work. They do fight sequences that don't need to be done. defeat
Let's
of
go
your
small.
emotion. Yeah, and I'm actually, I said to you before, it's Spider-Man 2. It's the ending of Spider-Man 2, and I don't mind it. You know, the moment she clocks the kids crying, you know, you could chuck in Octavius, I miscalculated. And then obviously it ends up, you know, drown me in the river with my creation, taking responsibility. I think it's a really good ending. And here's the thing, like, some people saying they've betrayed Wanda, they've killed Wanda. Like, maybe she's dead, but they've got multiverses now. Maybe they can do the X-Men. Personally, I don't think she's dead. I think she'll find a way to be alive, or they would have shown it. That's the golden rule of Marvel. You show it. Sometimes they show it and they still come out to life anyway. I think it was a great final act. And again, it helps America's character. She's learned how to control. The power's really cool. I know you spoke about this on earlier, but it just looks really cool. Like all the stars, you see them forming in the distance. And it's like punches away through. I'd have loved to have seen her in Spider-Man. Like, it must be so gutting for Kevin Feige to like sit here planning all these films so long in advance. So he's like, no, we won't move the release date forward at all. We're sticking to ours. Rewrite your entire film around us.
Yeah.
And it's like, and obviously Marvel has to then make the film anyway that Sony does, and that's why Ned has the Doctor Strange stuff in that film, because it was going to be America that did it all. Which, again, that's probably like a whole third of a film that had to change for that. But anyway, irrelevant to this, but I think it's a good ending. I think it's a solid ending, and again, Doctor Strange gets his farewell of Christine, which I think is quite important because it ends both of their character arcs for one another in this multiverse, at least. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up the film. I guess we talk about the ending.
I was going to say it wraps up everything apart from kind of. I feel like Scarlet Witch, kind of, or Wanda as she is in her state now, having a building collapsed on her. We know it's not.
It does fall in a very specific way as well. Like
it doesn't
collapse on her.
You know that she's probably still alive in there and stuff like that. I just feel like I don't know what direction they're going to go with the character now. Because obviously she's kind of repented, but she's also got a lot of that anger in her, which could release at any point. You never know when she's going to snap again. So you don't know kind of what precautions, like, we have no idea whether there's any precautions that Doctor Strange has kind of done to kind of do anything with that, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, and one thing I want to speak about, we get the final shot, the amazing guitar riff, by the way. I love the whole guitar riff, the Darkhold. Doctor Strange in the street, loving life. He's fixed his watch. He's back. And now he's got a lovely third eye to go with it. Yeah. I loved that ending. That was so cool. And then I absolutely hate the fact to have that weird middle credit sequence.
Yeah. So the ending kind of is, suddenly he has a third eye. And you're like, oh, what does this mean? Like, is this like the next stage of his character or anything like that? Is he able to control it? What's it hold and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because he's killed another Doctor Strange, does that mean he's taken his power? Like, there's so many.
And he used the Darkhold, it extracts a heavy toll, and there's
so is that the heavy toll that he's extracted and stuff like that? So it's like there's so much you could work with there, and then to have the mid-credit scene introducing us to Charlize Theron, who, like, I mean, I'm surprised that she hasn't been in a Marvel film yet so far. She becomes the next actress or actor to be kind of thrown into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But on top of that, it's so weird. Like, she's playing Clea, who I know ends up being Doctor Strange's wife in the comments and stuff like that. But like, she goes into Dormammu's dimension, and he's like completely fine with him having an eye. And we've just seen that on screen, him getting an eye and him being freaked out.
Different costume as well.
It's different costume, but I don't care because I don't care if it's a different costume. I don't care if it's a different street. It looks like it just continues straight on.
I know, yeah.
And that's
it looks like it's fine when it's not.
It looks like the entire film's been filmed by Raimi. Get that? And then it looks like the end credit scene's been filmed by someone completely different.
In a studio car park or something.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, it's so... It just doesn't hold up to the rest of the film. It's just like, it's once again a Marvel end credit scene that's quality has dipped humongously. And I absolutely love the Bruce Campbell when we talked about that one. Where he stops punching himself and looks at the screen and kind of says, it's over, it's finally over and stuff like that. But this one, like, I'd say it's on the same tier as your last one with, was it Pippi the Troll or whatever it is, and with Harry Styles, Thanos' brother. It's like, it's so odd with the context and stuff like that. And I know that Marvel wants to set up more. If you want to set up more, set it up in your films. They've started using end credit sequences to try and expand their universe. And you don't need to do that. You can do that within the film. I know the first expansion was from the Iron Man film of we need to talk about the Avengers Initiative and stuff like that.
That's fine. That's
fine.
story.
That's
this isn't
tiny.
story.
It's fine. You get hints into that throughout the entire film. This comes out of nowhere. Same with the Eternals one. It comes completely out of nowhere. So you've got absolutely nothing kind of... It's just like suddenly, bam, there you go. Here's the next thing. And I'm just not a fan of it. And it's frustrating because I genuinely can't remember the last end credit sequence where I went, wow, that's going to have huge context and kind of... it's like...
Oh, what's Spider-Man's?
I can't even remember.
Oh
Spider-Man.
God, no, that was the pointless Venom thing.
Oh yeah, the Venom thing. Like, so I genuinely can't remember the last big one.
Oh, and I guess Spider-Man because that was a Doctor Strange trailer. So yeah, we could avoid Spider-Man. Eternals. Listen, I don't mind the Harris Larson, but it's just irrelevant. It didn't need to be done.
It's just.
And again, they're Jon Snow, but then they teased. Blade. They had Blade's voice, but they teased.
That's okay. No, here's the thing. That's okay because it doesn't show the character; it just teases. This one is just like
what's weirder though.
Here's the character. Here's Dormammu's dimension.
It's a tease for a tease. That one was. That's what I didn't like. Oh God, what's the last good Marvel credit scene? That is a fantastic question. Because the problem is we've reached this point of pop culture now. I don't know if you saw that further than viral of like an American cinema.
Yeah. And
they had every film screening that day. And it's actually right at the end of it, no credit scene, one credit scene, no credit scene. And I absolutely hate this trend that they were doing. It's like the new Kingsman film that came out. I didn't know there was a credit scene. I didn't assume there would be. Got home, found out there was one. And they introduced Hitler. Like they like waltzed Hitler in like he's Thanos. Like, I mean, okay, yes, it's a parody. It's spy. It's not real. But like the bonkers reality we're in now is that every film has to be tied into something. I mean, even Star Wars had it with Book of Boba Fett. We had our first credit scene. I think it was Boba Fett. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get away with it for the ending of a TV series, like episode 6, fine. But I'm not into this. Everything needs it. And the problem I have now is that it's so ingrained in pop culture. Any normal film I watch, I have to do like a double take. Like, is there a credit scene? I don't want there to be. But I have to get my phone out and Google before I sit up and go, is there a credit scene in X, Y, and Z? And it's frustrating. And I think this one, again, I think because how much I really enjoyed that second year. But, yeah. And I think Guardians, like, James Gunn's were fun because they were like 7 just jokey things. And they're not to be, I think when credit scenes aren't to be taken seriously, you can get away with it. I think with this scene, Marvel moves to Secret War and Battle War storyline. It's works. It's like Secret War. I don't think it's going to be connected to this ending of Doctor Strange. I think Secret War, from what I've
Secret War's connected into or Skrull Invasion and stuff like that. That's all connected into Illuminati anyway, isn't it?
Well, just obviously going off what I know about the series. Oh God, yeah, don't remind me, Carl. I lost it in mid-credit scene, and I mean, I really enjoyed that film. I didn't know there was a credit scene. When I got home, someone was like, Brad Pitt's alive. And I was like, what? And yeah, ridiculous. But at least that one you could say it's probably a piss take on credit scenes. But Secret War is going to be interesting. That has wrapped filming now. That has been event. That is, they're calling it their like TV events. That is a very tricky thing to do. And I think TV is the best format for Secret Wars. Now, what you need to know heading into it's going to be a thing. Now, I've not seen Moon Knight. That's going to have a credit scene I've got to watch probably. But yeah, too many credit scenes. Get more fun ones in. Or just have cut to a clip from Spider-Man 2 of Peter Parker saying, how'd that get there? Just something different. But yeah, sorry, I don't want to rant. No. I mean, we've spoken a lot about this film. We've got almost 2 hours, so we'll start to wrap it up. Just final thoughts on this film. I'll jump in. I had a fun time with this. There's some things I'm not keen on. There's some things that didn't work. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, this is perfect. This is amazing. This is beyond belief. We don't really do stars, but if we did, to me, this is sort of like 4-star film. Like I had a fun time viewing it. And when I say 4-star film, I mean in terms of Marvel, not like this is why I don't do star systems. I just like to troll on Letterboxd. But I think it's fun. It's fun to be had. There's issues with it, but it's enough of a fun experience for me, and it stands out by itself above many other Marvel stuff. And I just want to see them try new paths, bring in more directors, let directors direct films, and it'll work for everybody down the line. So. There is fun to be had with this, and I think it exceeded my expectations.
I think this film, I'd say it was a solid 4 out of 5 if we were doing that. yeah, it expands on the first Doctor Strange film, expands on the universe that Marvel's created, and it does a good job of kind of showing off parts of the multiverse. It has a fascinating villain, which I do want to finally point out as one of my final things, that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Mom, is literally her entire motivations. But no, I really enjoyed the film. Sure, we have a few kind of little criticisms here and there, but overall, it's bonkers, and it has that uniqueness added to it from Sam Raimi. So it's fantastic because of that. And I think as more time goes on, people are going to appreciate this film more. In the same way that I appreciated Thor Ragnarok more after a bit of time settling on it and stuff like that, because you need that uniqueness, especially in Marvel nowadays. Otherwise, it just becomes another film that you just kind of go through and you forget about. And this one, I don't think people will be forgetting about for a while.
No, I think you're right with that. And also, I want to kind of segue with this. If there's going to be Doctor Strange 3, I would please bring Sam Raimi back. He strikes me as a director that, again, he's had a lot of fun with this character, this history. Maybe he doesn't want to come back. Maybe he wants to go and do some low-budget films similar to Cumberbatch. He might jump on a big film like this, then start getting funding for smaller films after. Who knows? But I'd love to see Raimi back. I'd also like to see Scott Derrickson back, because I really enjoyed the first Doctor Strange film. And Scott Derrickson, when he left, when he found out Sam Raimi, he was really excited. And I think Doctor Strange is such a crazy character. You could bring on so many different people to have their own takes that will always work to some degree. But yeah, that is going to round out our review for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We've almost been as long as the runtime for the film, Tate. No doubling credit scenes from us, though. So you don't need to stick around after the stream ends. But please, obviously, if you're watching in the future, please do comment your thoughts. We'll reply to them, and to everybody in the chat with us today, Bafari, Martin that pops up. I don't think Martin has seen the film. I don't know, but Martin in the chat. So with so many people, Carl, of course, loves to get you back on. I was saying, Tate, we've not been live for a while. That's what I felt weird, because we've been doing so many pre-recording videos. I've forgotten what it's like to moderate chat comments, and it's been nice to be live. So again, thank you everybody for all of that. Stick around, and as we said, we're going to be doing a Moon Knight review tomorrow. We're recording it now. We haven't decided if we're going to go live. I think we're going to pre-record it. It's early in the morning on a Saturday. So that Moon Knight review will go up on Sunday night. We'll make sure of that. You'll know, we're not live. It's my fault. I forgot I was going to a football game, which is really embarrassing. It's a big game now as well. But that being said, where can people find us about what other videos might pop up over the next few weeks?
People can find us on our various different social medias, which are scrolling along the bottom now. So that is on Twitter at cinema_savvy, on Facebook, Cinema Savvy. There's also a link in the description for that, and at letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy. And also, finally, as always, go into the link in the description and pick up a t-shirt or a jumper from TeePublic.
Definitely. So everybody please that. And if you want to know what's coming up on the channel, Tate got some good Twilight Zone calls in there. We're of course running a Steven Spielberg retrospective at the moment. Every single Tuesday, we have a new episode premiering. E.T. is this Tuesday, the 10th of May. It's also E.T.'s 40th anniversary in June. So we got a lot of anniversary discussions, myself and Neil on that one. So please do check that. If you're a fan of E.T., you're a fan of Steven Spielberg, they've been really fun to record. And as Tate said, we've got Twilight Zone on the 17th of May, which is probably the weirdest review meeting I've ever done. A bit of a downer. We read the behind the scenes after we saw the film. But every Tuesday. And if you don't know what Twilight Zone is, don't worry. Indiana Jones, 24th of May. We've got Temple of Doom. We've got one that came up on Tuesday. This week's been insane on the channel. This has been one of the busiest weeks, I think, in channel history. We had like 4 videos drop in the space of like 26 hours, which is mental. We had Indiana Jones on Tuesday, Doctor Strange, spoiler-free, like 1 a.m. on Wednesday. And of course, it's Star Wars Day. We're celebrating all things Star Wars. Obviously, we are building up to the return of Obi-Wan Kenobi on 3 weeks today, the 27th of May. And we've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. We had a Star Wars ranking video, which I encourage everybody to go and see. I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't had the chance yet, but it was really fun to do that. And if you do see that video, please do comment your top 10 or just comment and see what your reaction is to who won and who didn't. All that kind of stuff. And what's next? We're bringing back Reboots from Hell. This Monday, the 9th of May, me, Tate, are joined by Dave for Reboots from Hell. We're doing the Phantom Menace. If you're not familiar with the show, we've only ever done one episode. We take a classic film, franchise, trilogy, whatever. We have a randomizer pick it for us, and we have to recast the film with today's cast, the new director, new composer, all that kind of stuff. So we did it last year, Pulp Fiction. And obviously, we weren't allowed to do it after that due to other reasons. And now we've got Star Wars month. We're doing a prequel each week, and we're going to have different guests joining us every single week for this. So that was with Dave. Fun discussion, hour and a half as well, not too long. And as it's a new show, there's a lot of teething issues we're all working on with each other behind the scenes. So please do check that out on Monday. I think there's a lot of fun to be had. And absolutely, again, it's Star Wars month. Lots of Star Wars stuff. If you like Star Wars, hit subscribe. Turn notifications on this month more than any of it. You are going to be very satisfied. Got Martin in the comments. I haven't seen this. My eldest is off to see it tomorrow, friends. I'm off to see Thunderball in View. I just absolutely love the fact we've got a Bond reference in there. And I just love how... Listen, I'm glad you're able to see it because a lot of the cinemas have been shafted with watching the Bond films at the moment. I've only got one cinema showing them by me, and it's every Sunday at 5. And so far, that's 4 Sundays. It's clashed with either the football or the F1. So at the moment, I don't know when I'm going to get to go see any of them. And Cineworld won't show them, which is ridiculous. So enjoy Thunderball. There's been some really good Bond discussions. If you're looking to check out a podcast that are doing all the Bond stuff every week, every time they're at the cinema, check out Really 007. They jumped on our videos last year. They're doing a really cool retrospective across the year where they revisit these films in the cinema. So that's the one channel I recommend to do that. Sorry, Tayte, I keep speaking. We can let you all go. As always, thank you everybody in the comments, everyone at home for checking in, supporting us. It's been a blast, and we cannot wait to see you on the next one. So take care, and we'll see you all soon.